because I would never pick on anybody.
You just heard it. Just heard it, yeah. All right. I must have done something to deserve all of this rancor.
I guess I don't have to do Say the awkward silence before Fred calls. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I noticed that as well. Sorry, the awkward silence before Fred calls. There it is.
Voice in the sky, right?
Hi, Fred. All right, thank you.
I found the silence to be delightful.
Here, would you like this?
No, thank you. Yes, I'll
Can
put it
everyone
right on
please
top.
rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and good evening. Tonight is Tuesday, April 8th. It's a little after 7:30. We came before from executive session. We were talking about board and committee appointments. We had the brief reception, out in the hall here earlier. I'm sure everyone is here for the budget. And so, we have a little ceremony before we get into our agenda items. I just want to thank everyone for coming. We're going to have a ceremonial swearing in tonight. This is our first meeting as the new board here. Having the term having started just yesterday on Monday, April 7th. Before we get into the swearing in, I do have one other presentation first that I'll go up to the podium for. So as I mentioned, we recently had our village elections on March 18th, and it did represent a change on the board. We had, for the past 3 years, we've had our board together the way it is, and one person who was on the board for 6 years leading up to this has stepped down. And so, Stephanie, if you could come up, please. And I think, I said some words, and a lot of us said some words at the last meeting, which was, or 2 meetings ago, I should say, which was Stephanie's last meeting with us on the board. And I would say that, Stephanie and I have known each other for a very long time. We both went to the Blindbrook schools. We grew up in Rybrook. Stephanie's younger sister was my year in K through 12. And Stephanie always has the claim of knowing me the longest of anyone up here, having babysat for me when I was a child. And so, we've known each other a very long time. And Stephanie and I both worked together on the Sustainability Committee prior to us joining the Board of Trustees. And so, I have to say it's been a tremendous pleasure working with you both on the Sustainability Committee and having you on the Board of Trustees. You've had a tremendous amount to offer, and we really appreciate all the time. So we have a couple of things. First off, so you can always remember your time on the board. You get to take this. You get to take that with you. We may ask for it back if you ever decide to come join us again, which you're always welcome. And then we have a proclamation in multiple forms. But we have the official proclamation here. I'll skip most of it. You can read it at home as whereas, and it talks about how you've served on Sustainability Committee and on the Board of Trustees and your dedication to the Village of Rybrook, which is really what this is about, is volunteering your time, meeting after meeting, through many years, 6 years on the Board of Trustees, and the Sustainability Committee from 2010 to 2019. So quite a long time of volunteering for the village. And so now therefore it be resolved that I, Jason Klein, Mayor of the Village of Rybrook, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the residents of our village, do hereby express our deepest gratitude and appreciation to Stephanie Vischer for her extraordinary service, leadership, and commitment to Rybrook. Let this proclamation serve as a permanent testament to her positive impact and legacy of service to our community. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
And then because, it's always more fun when things are also, the proclamations are also in scroll form.
I
So we also have
That's
this
funny.
that,
Thank
for you, so.
Oh, thank you so much. That is so sweet.
And while I roll this back up, I'm sure there's some comments from the board.
Stephanie, thank you. It's been a pleasure serving with you for the past 3 years. Not long enough, though.
Thank you.
Stephanie, it is with deepest gratitude and appreciation that you were willing to sit next to me on the train for all those years. I met, according to Stephanie, we met in
1991.
1991.
Wow.
So we were both a lot younger.
Yeah.
One of us had a lot less gray hair, and one of us hair color hasn't changed.
I got some gray in here now.
Stephanie, seriously, thank you for everything.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
One can always change that. As evidenced by all of the photos in the next room over. I want to say thank you for being my compatriot on the female version of the board. I will miss you tremendously, not only for that, but also for the support that you've lent to so many things and for being a great cheerleader. So wishing you the best of luck going forward, and please come to our meetings because you're going to miss us.
I will. I definitely will. I definitely
You were quite valuable, so good luck.
will. Thank you so much.
Let's get it. John, did you want to say, as the new member?
I would just thank her for what, even as she's going off, she's volunteering. I asked her to fill me in on what it was like, and she gave me some tips and tricks. So I'm already starting out. So thank you for that. But more importantly, for your devotion to the village and service. All volunteerism is so important. Thank you so much. It's an honor to try to follow in your footsteps.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Thank you. And I'll just say one quick thing.
Before you do, can I just say too, I
Yes,
just want to say,
Chris.
on behalf of the staff, thank you for all the support you provide to us. Thank you for the support you've always provided to me. But you're always at all of our events. You're always being active, showing your support for what we do on a daily basis, but also for the community. You're such a kind person. You're objective. You really, when people come in and you really see you weighing both sides of everything, and you want to do what's right for the community. And it was always really appreciated how you approach everything. I was looking back and some of the old articles and everything the other day, and I was like, wow, you're on sustainability. I think you were part of the Solarize program in Rybrook, and and then coming back in some of the big things that happen in the community, in the future of the community, things like 900 King Street and these big developments that are coming. So, you really have made a difference, and thank you for all that you do for Rybrook.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I just want to say it's such an honor to work with all of you. I feel so lucky that I got this opportunity, and of course to work with Jason, who I did babysit for. But Don, you are in such amazing hands. I love that it's like nonpartisan here, and everyone is just so supportive of each other. And this is an amazing, amazing village. And Chris, you and your staff, I can't say enough good things. And I will definitely back, and I live around the corner, and I'm going to volunteer again. And I look forward to seeing everybody very soon at different things.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like
take one
to
up, yeah?
welcome up. Next, I'd like to welcome up our county legislator Nancy Barr, who has graciously volunteered to perform the swearing-in ceremonies. Is it swearings in, swearing-ins?
Jason, you got it right. Don't.
Swearing-in ceremonies. All right, so we're gonna start with Don.
Okay.
And Don, if your wife would like to join you up.
Marguerite.
Absolutely.
Really?
Okay, all right.
Marguerite?
I, Donald Crum,
I, Donald Crum,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the
How did Don-
Constitution
how
of
did
the State
Trump-
of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
Yeah.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee.
Thank you. And I now pronounce you as trustee.
All three.
Yeah, here, move out to the.
Step out from the podium.
Trustee and wife.
All right, next we have Sal. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Please.
Family, yes.
And he has another younger daughter that looks exactly like the mother.
Are your children have to make it?
It's unbelievable, right?
All right, raise the right hand. Okay. I, Salvatore W. Marlino,
I, Salvatore W. Morlino,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee.
One more.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Big day. Feel great.
That's true. What step you stand
I feel like you've always been
Okay, I have never been to that.
We can arrange that.
That's inside, we gotta separate names, because you post this stuff there, too. You think it's me.
I, Jason A. Klein,
I, Jason A. Klein,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of mayor.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of mayor.
You okay?
I
Sure? I feel it right now.
There we go. Yeah, if it's all right, I'll say a few words and then I'm gonna yield the microphone to you.
Okay.
I prepared a very short speech. I know we have a lot of business tonight, so I'm going to try and keep this short. So 3 years ago, I began my swearing-in statement with a story from story that happened back then, where a friend of mine who I'd gone to high school with had come to Rybrook just a few days before that from New Jersey. He's living in New Jersey to show his son the community in which he grew up, and I happened to run into him at the high school. And the point was the pride that residents have for this community and how it lasts a lifetime. It doesn't end when you move out of the community. For me, while clear that that's lasting, being involved in the village has also given me more insight into what makes Rybrook such a great place to live. It's clear that there's a great sense of community within the village. But where does that come from? Yes, it's from the collective bonds that people have, from friendships, shared experiences, commonalities, and interactions. But it also comes from what the village is able to provide for its residents. Often in talking with friends or acquaintances from other municipalities, I'm struck by the complaints or general griping. It makes me realize how great Rybrook truly is in terms of the services that we provide our residents. And that's based on everyone who works or volunteers for our village. During snowstorms, you can always tell when you enter Rybrook from the quality of the streets. The emergency services here are second to none. Police officers greet you with smiles and truly look to serve the community. Fire response is efficient and always willing to help a resident. We have shared a shared EMS service that is the best in Westchester County and beyond. All of the staff in Village Hall truly work to serve the public. From free public events held by the Rec Department and Senior Center, to the efficacy and individual attention given by the Building Department and Engineering Department, to the Finance Department working tirelessly, not only to make sure that we are fiscally responsible to our residents, but also to ensure that the staff that takes care of the rest of us is also taken care of. And the decisions that we make as a board also aim to serve the public. From simple things as regular trash and recycling collection to streamlining applications, we have awarded contracts and passed legislation, again, to help our residents. These are what makes Rybrook a great place to live. I'm honored to be part of this, having served on village committees and the Board of Trustees. As I enter my second term as mayor, I want to thank all that I have served with and all the staff that works tirelessly to provide these services to our residents. I'd also like to thank my family, who has to put up with this. The nights I spend at meetings and the time, and I won't say it's small, but the time I spend brooding at home about village matters. I truly appreciate the support you all three of you, show me. I'll conclude with the same sentiment from 3 years ago. We're in the midst of our budget process, having had budget hearings over the past 2 weeks. And for those who have never been through the process, it's a marathon process. We were here for 4.5 hours last night doing this. Sorry to keep this speech a little bit longer than I intended. Tonight, there's a budget presentation and public hearing, and at our next meeting, we will approve the 25-26 budget. A tremendous amount of effort went into this budget from all departments in the village. The budget is a statement of values. I'm very pleased that once again our budget makes an investment in the employees and infrastructure of Rybrook, and as mentioned before, continues the high level of services that our residents have come to expect. Beyond this budget, though, there are many decisions we as a board must make in the coming months and many initiatives over the next few years to further our mission of keeping Rybrook such an amazing place and such an amazing community to be part of. So enough of my speech, let's get to work. Please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for giving me a few minutes to speak tonight. I want to first of all say thank you to Stephanie Fisher. She's been a tremendous asset to the board, and I've enjoyed getting to know you, Stephanie. And we're going to keep you to your promise that you're going to continue to volunteer and to be a part of the community. And you've really added so much to the community as it is. Thank you. I just want to then say a few words to the rest of the board and to Chris Bradbury, who is really the village manager extraordinaire, as I think we all agree. You know, it is not easy to do this. I was speaking to a group of about 100 AP government students at Portchester High School a few days ago. And they were really terrific, and they, you know, their teacher had, you know, had them come up with about 20 questions, and, you know, they were very thoughtful questions. And one of the questions was something like, what do you think is the most important thing for, someone who wants to run for office or something along those lines? And I have a very, very quick and specific answer to that question, and that is the most important thing is to be someone who actually cares about people. And I cannot underscore that enough because, at the end of the day, that's what the job is about, whether it's, as a trustee, as a legislator, school board member, whoever it is. If you don't care about people, if you don't care as much about the other people in the community as you do about yourself, then you don't belong in that job. And, and I said for the high school students, if that's you, if you're the kind of person who, sees somebody who needs help, getting across the street and you help them, or you, read to your little cousin, or you help kids, learn how to play soccer, or something like that. Anything that takes you outside of yourself and because you're thinking about somebody else. And I have to say, everybody on this board, and Don, I've just met you, so I'll come back next year. Has done that, and it's clear because they are literally spending time with, on these matters that are, they apply to them, but they're mostly about, all their neighbors and everybody else, and they're taking time away from their families, and their families, thank you. I know what that's, like. To do things for other people. And it's really, they could be home watching White Lotus or whatever, they're here tonight, they were here last night, they're out in the cold with, for the Christmas spectacular, Hanukkah spectacular, so I think we, while you don't have to agree with everything everyone says, you do have to say thank you. And I respect you for doing this, and thank you so much for listening to the concerns of the community and for doing your darndest to, make everybody's lives the best they can be. So thank you so much, and thank you for letting me be part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and I would say, Legislator Barr, thank you for all that you do in representing our community. We've had a number of legislators over the years, and to have someone who's living in Rybrook, we certainly appreciate. But we know that you go on the county level to help represent the interests of our residents, like you said. Not looking out for other people, and looking out for the same people that we're trying to, but your territory is expanded, and we know that there are others beyond the boundaries of Rybrook, and we truly appreciate everything that you do. We're done with our swearing-in ceremonies. Thank you for all that came to help support us. It really does mean a lot to us. We are going to dive into our regular agenda at this point. We understand if you don't want to stay. You're welcome to go, and again, thank you. All right, we are going to go a little out of order on our agenda. I'm actually going to go to the last resolution first. We're gonna go to an add-on resolution, resolution number 15, which becomes 1, considering the appointment of a recreation supervisor.
Now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with the offer of appointment dated April 11th, 2025, Benjamin Becker of 27 Pleasant Avenue, White Plains, New York, is hereby appointed to the position of Recreation Supervisor for the Village of Rybrook, subject to the civil service procedures of the state of New York, and be it further resolved that the annual salary for this position is $70,000 with an effective start date of April 28th.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Bert, you want to come up and say anything?
I would love to say that this has been a short process. And we were quick to find someone, but it's been a long process. And I want to say it's been a wait that we're willing to do for a quality candidate. So without further ado, we have Ben Becker here. He's coming to us from the city of White Plains. I've had the pleasure of working with him for a few men's softball things, so he's ready to go, and he's looking forward to serving the village.
Great, thank you, Brent. I think we also have some comments from Chris.
Oh, I just want to say, yeah, we were very, as Bert said, it was really, it's worth the wait. We think Ben's going to be a great fit here in Rybrook. As Rob said, he's worked for the city of White Plains in the recreation department for the last several years. Also worked in other offices within White Plains. So this is somebody who's interested in recreation as a career, really dedicated to the profession. So we're really excited for him to join us in a little over 2 weeks.
Great.
Want to come up?
Yeah.
Just excited to be here. Chris, thank you, especially you, Bert. Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Chris. Especially thank you, Bert. Thank you as well, Mayor, trustees. Thank you. Thank you for putting the trust in me, and I look forward to serving the residents of Rybrook.
Thank you. Any questions? Stay there. Any questions or comments from the board?
Welcome. I look forward to working with you.
Congratulations, you're going to love it here.
Yeah, and you came at a great time. We're just starting to get into where events really start rolling. Looking forward to our summer camp programs. There's a lot on the plate right now. You're going to find Rybrook is a great community to work in. You've got some great leaders to work with, and we're looking forward to having you here as we start going with a lot of events. So yeah,
And no suit required.
That's it.
No suit required.
Okay, I hope we have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Good.
all right.
10 jumping jacks.
Congratulations.
Any other questions or comments?
No, welcome.
All right, let's call the roll. Chris, do you mind doing it since Greg's up?
Sure. Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. Welcome. I think Greg wants to get a picture.
Ah, nice.
Do you want?
Mayor?
Oh, sorry. I was already looking to see what the next what number of resolution.
Okay.
And I did mine, and I'm in none.
He's got some good EQ.
Yes. Yes. Still.
All right. Sorry. Pardon me for 1 second as I figure out. We're gonna take one more resolution out of order, which is. Why am I having trouble finding it? I know I had it. I thought it was at the top.
Which one? Sustainable?
No, the
7. No?
is it 7.
Was it this one?
Not 7.
No,
Could be.
not 7-7.
Which item are you looking for, Mayor?
Oh, it's 1. It is 1.
Yeah.
My goodness, I went right past it
Mhm.
because it was 1. I didn't expect it to be 1. All right, resolution number 1, considering an exemption extension of Chapter 158, Section 2.1 of the Village Code regarding a seasonal leaf blower ban for Doral Greens HOA.
I'm back again.
Excuse me.
Give me 1 second.
Do we need this?
Okay. Considering, whereas on April 11th, 2023, the board approved a local law creating a seasonal leaf blower ban from May 1st through September 30th, effective on May 1st of that year. And whereas under the village code, properties of 5 acres or more can apply for a full or partial exemption or extension. And whereas an application has been distributed to all the eligible properties, and whereas a 1-year extension or exemption was granted by the Board of Trustees on October 31st to the Doral Greens, and whereas on March 18th, representatives of Doral Greens HOA submitted an application for an exemption for the requirements of the local law requiring a seasonal ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. Now therefore be resolved that after consideration of the intent of the local law as well as considerations raised in the application from representatives of Doral Greens, The Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees either denies, approves, or approves with conditions the request for an exemption under the village code, and be it further resolved that the board establishes any conditions that they'll be talking about in a minute.
Thank you, Chris. And we're going to hold off on our motion second till we have our discussion. First, I would welcome representatives of Doral Greens HOA to make a presentation.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having us. I'm Russ Jelinek. I'm from the law firm Guy Schwartz and Jelinek on behalf of the applicant. I have with me here today Henry Valencia, who is the landscaper, who will speak to the board as far as steps that will be taken in the coming year, and always looking to improve as the technology advances, looking to find ways to find more environmentally conscious alternatives.
Thank you.
Great. And before you get started, I just want to highlight, so last year's resolution had the following conditions, that during the seasonal ban period, gas-powered leaf blowers should not be used on the driveways and walkways. The second item was that 50% of the leaf blowers must be electric powered. And then third is that the extension was granted through September 30th of '24, which is why you're here tonight.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Henry Valencia, president of Valencia Work Group. I am the landscaper for the Doral Greens. And just like the attorney said, we're going to be looking to, purchase equipment that's more efficient as technology evolves, to start using more of the electric versus the gas on the properties.
Great. And I guess I would start with just a question. The items that were in last year's resolution, those, I'm assuming you're continuing to do that you're using the electric on the walkways and the driveways?
Yes, sir. We're using the electric in areas that we can, versus the gas. Just obviously areas that are very tough and, and are, that the electric can't push, we'll use the gas. But, we're using the electric more than the gas on all these, walkways, driveways, and even on the lawns.
Questions or comments from the board?
Yes, can you give us a rundown of how many of the electric blowers you have now?
We have a total of 4 to 5. We have a backup one because just like, the batteries do run down depending on the usage. And, the technology is still not there, but, we have a charging station and we try to work with the electric more than the gas, as much as we can to get the job done, as well, to make it cost efficient also for the association.
And which equipment have you purchased, and how do you find it's working?
Well, the battery life is just like anything, just like your cell phone. The more you use it, the faster it drives the power down. But, we use the steel-powered battery equipment. There's Milwaukee, there's the Walt. So, we try them out to see which ones last the longest. But mostly, they all work at the same pace and at the same rate of battery life.
Thank you.
Have you purchased, when was the last time you purchased one, a new leaf blower, electric leaf blower?
Last year.
Last year.
2024.
And then before that, you have older ones, 2 years old, 3 years old?
Well, we kind of keep them, current, exchange them, or buy new ones because of the lifespan of it. They're not efficient at all.
Right. Have you found that the new ones any better?
Well, I'll let you know by the end of this year.
So have they been getting, but I mean, you've had them for the past 3 years, you've been using them, right?
Yes, but as time goes on, it really doesn't, the batteries get heavier and bigger. So that's what makes it longer, just like a bigger gas tank.
So the technology's,
It's still not there, but I go to a lot of seminars. I'm involved in all the efficiencies and pollution. So they're trying.
okay,
It'll eventually, hopefully, get there.
I guess carrying that battery on your back is kind of,
It gets tiring.
yeah.
Yes.
Any other
Do they have push electric leaf blowers instead of
No.
backpack?
No.
Nah, yeah,
It's
okay.
backpack ones? I
Mhm.
guess.
Okay.
And the handhelds, but those don't last at all.
handhelds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is what you have geared for commercial versus what a resident would buy?
It's very not that different.
Okay.
You know, you just either buy a battery, like I said, that's larger and that's, you know, could last, you know,
Longer,
maybe
huh?
30, 40 minutes longer versus, you know, a homeowner that only uses it for maybe 20, 30 minutes. You know what, we might be able to use it maybe for 45 minutes or an hour max, and then that's it.
So when you said the technology's not quite there yet, you're saying more for continuous use versus a homeowner that's just doing their yard?
Yes, because, you know,
Yeah.
we're going around a 40-acre property versus a quarter acre or even, you know, less than that. So, yeah, the longevity of the batteries is not there.
Forgive me, I thought what you were saying before was the power also of electric versus gas, that gas apparently is more powerful.
Absolutely. So, yes, both the power that the equipment has and the longevity, they're working on the technology to make it just as good as a gas one.
You know, hopefully they get there.
Yes.
We're certainly aware of the desire to move in that direction. We will take every step possible to get there. It's just, we're sort of.
Excuse me,
Bless you.
pardon me.
On the advances in the technology.
Right.
So.
Right, and we're aware of the limitations, which is why we created this carve-out in the legislation.
Right.
So do we have, I would need a motion on, you know, I guess, what are we thinking? It would be a 1 year with the same conditions?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion on that?
Motion.
Move. Second?
And we have a second. Okay. Craig?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. So to be clear, and I guess we didn't really say it, but this gets you through until,
Yeah. October 1st of next year, and then you're eligible to come in again and make another request for the following May.
right, because it's only in effect May through October.
Understood.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, so now returning to our regular agenda. Thank you everyone else for your patience. First, we have a presentation from Sustainable Westchester. Dan Welsh. Well, that's why we have the young guy here.
Hi, everybody. It was fun to absorb the energy of the new electoral cycle. And actually, I think this is the second one of your turnovers that I've witnessed. So.
Oh, gotcha. You seem to time it perfectly.
Yeah, I don't know.
How we doing?
What?
How we doing?
Doing good. Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
a bigger screen. You need
Wanna-
a bigger screen. You can use this. You need a bigger screen. If you need a bigger screen,
Oh, yeah, no, I'm good on that. I have a laptop up there, and plus it'll pull up there. I can see from there.
okay.
My progressive glasses.
I got those too. I got new ones. Yeah, I got new ones coming. These are progressive and transition.
Outside
Then
Gaza or Sudan.
you gotta get those. Yeah.
By the way, Stephanie looks very comfortable back there. She was-
So thanks so much for providing a little time tonight. I know as usual, full agenda. The goal here is to get us all set up so you can contemplate the participation in the next contracting round. So anyway, I'm Dan Walsh. I'm with Sustainable Westchester, longtime partner of the villages. We don't have to do a lecture on climate change. You guys are on top of that. But just for the audience and whoever might be watching on video, this is a program which is geared to help with that urgent crisis. And we know that it continues to go in the wrong direction. And in particular, we have a lot of concern about the fact that it hits the most vulnerable people in our communities the hardest. We know New York State has a great and aggressive program set out, but it's tough, and they are falling behind a little bit, so our local efforts are all that much more important. One of the important efforts that the county has made is to collaborate on that, and Sustainable Westchester is evidence of that collaboration. We're a multi-municipality consortium, 44 out of the 45 municipalities in Westchester County, and the county itself. Yes. And this is just a quick scan of the portfolio programming. It's been getting richer and richer, and the village has participated in much of it. You mentioned Solarize, which is actually coming back, I understand. Leo, my colleague Leo, is working on a new iteration of it, so get ready for that. A lot of work in the buildings area. Of course, my colleagues also helping folks to make sure that they can access all the different resources to upgrade their housing stock and save energy there. And a lot of innovation, some of which has been state leading, including the program we're going to talk about today, and some of the other, the Brady Wars, which some of your folks may participate in, and some the innovative solar project that's on the roof of the office in Mount Kisco there, which is the first solar to batteries to high-speed charging. And so tonight we're looking at the Westchester Power Program, which is focused, of course, on the residential energy piece, which is that highlighted block there, and how can we move that towards a more renewable state. And again, the biggest tool in our toolbox is the Westchester Power Community Choice Aggregation Program. Basically, at its heart, it's a big collective buying program. There are 26 municipalities in Westchester that now participate, with a total of about 130,000 residents and small businesses accounts participating. In Rybrook, we've got just shy of 2,000 accounts in the program. That's through the end of February of 2025. And just really quickly, because again, anybody that's watching, we want to make sure that they have at least some basic concepts out there. The program is for the supply. So even if you know nothing else about sort of electricity and what you see on your bill, you should know that your bill is divided into supply and delivery. And delivery is the Con Ed piece. It's the logistics to get the power to your home. But for the supply, you can decide who you want to pay to dump electricity in the grid for you. That's how we go out and buy green energy. So it's the supply part of the bill, which we're talking about when we consider the Westchester Power Program. And this is how it shows up on your bill. If you are with Westchester Power, or if you signed up with a private ESCO by yourself, you'll see the name of the ESCO in the supply side. In our case, it's Constellation New Energy. And then you'll see, again, the bill divided by supply and delivery. If you're just with Con Ed, that goes away, and there's no mention of a separate supplier. So the program, the overall objectives, again, it's about leveraging our buying power in a collective way to increase our access and the availability of renewable energy, make it easier for that transition to happen. It's also targeting stability in the rates, so they're by the fixed rate format. And because of the scope of the program, it really helps in promoting a lot of the other measures that we want to see happen. As far as the mechanics of the program are concerned, how does it work? The number one feature that distinguishes it from other types, from going out yourself to secure renewable energy, is it is an opt-out program. That means when the municipality decides to participate, it becomes essentially the default supply for the residents. If they don't want to be in it, they have to raise their hand and tell us they don't want to be in. To do that, we'll talk about that. And it is designed to be consumer friendly, so you can do that anytime you want. You can come back in if whatever conditions are, that tell you you want to do that. We do provide two different supply options. A 100% renewable is the one that most municipalities default to, but there's also a 50% renewable, and residents can switch back and forth with that. And it's also important, because it's a fixed rate program, that everyone should know there's no guarantee you're going to beat Con Ed rates in the long run. Sometimes we're ahead, sometimes we're behind, but we have no idea what Con Ed rates are going to be in the future. So it is not a guaranteed savings program. It has had a tremendous impact since it started. In just 2024, the total amount of carbon mitigated is over 300,000 tons. That's huge, and it's, in fact, it is the program with the largest impact of anything that a municipality can do. In fact, more, if you add up all the other things you're doing, this exceeds that. And of course, nobody knows what a ton of carbon is, so go to the EPA has this little widget where you can convert that. It's equivalent to 76,000 cars taken off the road, or 5 million trees planted. And there's also, the DEC has a cost of carbon calculation that you can do, which is quite considerable there. Back to considering the consumer choice side of things. Again, before you, if you don't have a CCA in place, you have two choices. You either with the utility, if you do nothing, or you can go out and seek supply from private ESCO. With the CCA in place, legislated in place, then you're adding one more alternative. So you're essentially adding choices for the consumer. And then again, we want to make sure that those choices are easy to exercise. And so we provide all the different medium that you can think of, whether phone or email, or during the mailing itself, there's a card you can mail back. And there is no penalties or anything if you want to change and move back and forth, unlike some ESCO situations. And just to visualize again that whole predictability and stability element, the fixed rate provides sort of a cap versus the utility rates, where you don't even know your utility rate until your bill comes. So you've already used the electricity, and then you're learning what that rate is. So this is what the rates have looked like over the past few months, just to get a sense. And we've been in pretty good shape relative to the Con Ed rates. The 100% renewable is about 13.3 cents, 13 1/3 cents. Con Ed has hovered in the 12s, down to 11 cents per kilowatt hour. We've got the box with the apple there is an implied, what our equivalent would be without the renewable component, that is without the renewable energy certificates, just to kind of give a sense, like the raw power, we're competitive with that, but there is a little premium for the renewable energy. Cut in anytime you want if you have a question. I'm going pretty fast because I know you guys have been through this, and but I do want to just use it as a framework, but anytime you have any questions. This is the chart. We've seen these numbers before, and again, we've been up, we've been down. Everybody knows that those 2 years, 23 and 24, were very tough ones. Everybody heard about it, and those are the ones that really knocked us out of our averages. But otherwise, we've been pretty competitive. And importantly, apples to apples, we are consistently at the lowest available options for renewable energy. If you're going out to buy renewable energy, and it's a reliable source. Also important to understand, if you're thinking about the prices and everything, that the folks who are in the assistance programs are not even eligible for the program, so they're not subjected to any of that variability, because they have their separate program. And there are other options for folks too, where there's more of a guarantee of savings. Community solar, grid rewards you spoke about. That's the demand response program. You sign up 4 or 5 times a year. There's a peak times that they give you a call, and if you can drop your load, people make $50, $100, $200 a year, depending on how much you do that. And the Empower program is run through our buildings energy department, where they're helping people make sure they're tapping into the state subsidies to, again, tighten up their homes and save energy there. We always want to emphasize that we feel the customer support part of things, that the customer phone calls, all that is part of the education process. They're calling, they may not know the difference again between supply and delivery. They heard Con Ed rates are going up or the power's out or whatever, and we will help them no matter what their questions are and kind of get them oriented. And of course, if they want to have a transaction, they want to opt out or do anything, we're helping with that. And we're putting a heavy emphasis on making sure that we are fully staffed for bilingual support. We now have 4 named speakers in our group now, and are holding Spanish language sessions and making those, taking those phone calls in Spanish and all the rest of that. So that's something we want to continue to grow. And I mentioned that the platform has a tremendous value in the fact that everybody's part of it, and now they're kind of connected with us, and now we can make sure they have the chance to avail themselves of some of the other programming, and that's really starting to aggregate now. So you see the home energy efficiency work. We had almost 5,000 households participate in that. Grid Rewards, it's also almost 5,000 participants in that, and countywide. Community solar subscribers. Again, that education part, very important. We're going around even with home energy insulation kits and having sessions and helping people with that. And we're also continue to try to do innovative work. We have the opt-out community solar, which we're hoping to add into as an opt-out program. We submitted that a couple of years ago to the DPS, has not been approved yet.
Can you explain what that is?
So right now, the electric supply is provided on an opt-out basis. We would use the same technique to channel community solar credits to customers. So they wouldn't have to go through that sign-up process. You'd have a new project would come online, here in a large property on a roof or something in Rybrook, and then you would be able to say, okay, we're going to allocate that to our residents here, and just put it on the bill, and they would get their credits. Right now, community solar, one by one, you have to sign up, and it's surprising how difficult it is to get people to sign up to save money.
And just to clarify, is that currently, are there active projects, or are you in a queue right now to wait to see if there's an eligible project coming up?
We are active in regular individual sign-up community solar, right? So my colleague, Leo Wiegman, who runs that side of things, is working with developers to help bring more projects online. And he's actually helping property owners also to assess the possibility of their developing projects there. And then those would get signed up. So that's active, but it's slow because it's one project at a time. If we can get the opt-out mechanism in, that will encourage more developers because they'll know I can get my project signed up essentially automatically. So just throwing that out there. That's the kind of thing that we're working on under the hood, and we have to make petitions to the DPS and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's one of the values of kind of collective action, and trying to build these innovative programs. There are new rules out of the DPS directed at our outreach and education work post-award. So once the contract is awarded, you will see a little more of us after that time. They want us to do extra, and this is all good, although I would maybe adjust some of the items that they're focused on. Extra public meetings, extra virtual meetings, and more sort of physical outreach that could be flyers or what have you, So that's a new addition. Is one also of the reasons why, now just go to the gist of it, why we move this schedule up and trying to accelerate things. Normally you might have seen us at this time of the year in the past, but we would have been what we call sort of the warm-up meeting. Hey, the program's still going, I want to give you this update, I want to let you know that we're in line to, later in the year do this. But what we want to do this year is try to get the sign-ons early enough that we would have more flexibility on the procurement side. Sometimes you see a little dip in the spring in terms of the rates and everything. If we get that, we want to be able to go ahead and do that and not just base all the procurement on like the ultimate schedule. So it gives us more time for that. So we are targeting the end of the month to try and be all set to take our first bids. It also gives us time to say, supposing at that time you see a little bump in the market, we have time to say, you know what, we're gonna wait 3 weeks and ask for a rebid. So it gives us more flexibility there. It also gives us the time to do that extra outreach that we were talking about there. And just, you know, has a lot of benefits for that. So that's why we're coming around earlier. And that's basically just have the MOU package is basically the same formats that we've had over the years, the MOU plus the contract template. And so, you know, certainly open to any questions on that tonight or.
Yeah, and I think that, and thank you for the presentation, Dan, and I think there will be a number of questions from the board. You know, to be perfectly honest, I think you're running up against a tougher sell than what you had originally. When this first came before us, you know, I think, you know, I don't remember how many years ago, we've been part of this program
16, I think.
since its inception. And I think the first year we were still on the brown option, and then we converted to green option after that. You know, we've been in it in a few different ways. And when this first came, you know, there was a lot of excitement about it. I think there were people very excited to get in there at, you know, get a fixed rate in a time of instability with the power market. Get some stability, but also start to steer communities into the direction of, you know, being more on the renewable side and being able to show that their community is participating in this. You know, as time went on, I think, you know, the Con Ed, the trailing rate kind of dipped a little bit, and then there was, of course, that tough time when we went through a couple of contracts where there was, you know, we entered into the agreement. Then there was no contract because the price was just too high. Then there was something that was settled on that was still pretty high, but we participated in it, even though the Con Ed rate was lower at the time. Then there was a time when it was too high, and I think all of our residents were left not being part of CCA for a little bit.
That break that you talked about.
Yeah, the break.
Yeah.
And so there was something that, you know, and I think, you know, for us as decision makers on the municipal level, and I'm sure you've been in front of a number of boards, you know, there's a value judgment to be made. And, you know, for me, I weigh it back and forth that we know if we go the renewable option, you know, especially the 100% renewable option, we know that that's going to be a little bit higher than what would be the base rate that people would be paying for in the Con Ed, you know, for the Con Ed energy supply, just at their regular, what they supply.
Chances are.
Chances are that that's what it would be. And I, you know, for me personally, you know, I think knowing that what we're simply talking about is the energy supply and not the delivery charges, that it doesn't make as big of a difference on someone's bill, you know, because you're talking about a few cents in kilowatt hours, which, you know, given the examples you show, you see that the overwhelming majority of your bill is actually in the delivery charges, and something that Con Ed is trying to raise currently, and which is why Rybrook has led the charge in working with municipalities. We've coalesced a number. What's the number up to?
38.
38 communities.
Remarkable.
Meetings where they signed on to the Rybrook.
Yeah. So we've coalesced the 38 communities to collectively be party to the Con Ed case with the PSC. And so, we understand that a lot of it is in the delivery charges, not necessarily in those. But I think there's also been, the issue of the fact that a certain percentage of the electric rate is also going to Sustainable Westchester. Now, we certainly see, you showed a number of programs that are there to support the communities within which the CCA is operating. And so, again, it's kind of that value call for us of...
Just for the public's information, it's 0.175 cents per kilowatt hour goes to Sustainable Westchester for administrative fee.
Right, and my assumption is that administrative fee gets used for these programs.
Oh, to run the program. Yeah.
Right. I mean, but I mean, it's 0.175, but that's not an insubstantial amount. It actually adds up to quite a bit from what we've seen. So, for me personally, it's looking at, what's the overall good and what's the actual cost to our residents. And I'll get into my personal feelings more about that. But I just, I'm sure you're meeting with this a little bit at all the different communities. And I know that there are some communities that were part of CCA that no longer are. There are others that weren't that have joined. So, certainly I would open this up to any other questions or comments, and I know there's going to be a number of them from our board.
Dan, early on in your presentation, you mentioned that there's been a savings of 320 some odd thousand tons of carbon.
Right.
How do you make that calculation?
The EPA has a grid carbon number that they publish for the entire country. So every region, subzone, they have and it's in milligrams per whatever. So we take that, we say that's what's inherent in the grid. Now when you go with the 100% renewable, you're now zeroing out that much carbon per kilowatt hour. So those are publicly available numbers that just multiply essentially.
Do you think that the EPA is going to continue giving you that information out? I'm being serious.
We were going to get there sometime. You're asking me? I don't know. It's crazy. I hope so. And I will say, New York State obviously is watching all these things very closely, right? And trying to anticipate it, whether it be in the area that we're talking about or other areas, like, okay, what's our backup plan? And so, maybe the NISO, the New York Independent Systems Operator, will generate numbers because they have all the information about the generators. In fact, the EPA probably gets that information from them. So I don't imagine we're gonna go dark, but there could be some shuffling and whatnot that goes on.
Hi, thanks for,
And would you mind putting the rates back up, please?
right.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I'm interested in seeing the rates for the, do you break out just the supply rates, obviously, and what Con Ed has now? So my question is, we don't have non-renewable here.
Right, correct. And we, as the mayor said in the beginning, in fact, the village had signed on as a non-renewable default town, village. But the DPS has changed the rules so that it makes it almost impossible to get a bid that will meet their rules for standard supply. So we dropped out of offering the non-renewable supply and instead have the 50 and 100%. 50 is the lowest we can go. That still qualifies as what they call renewable energy supply. So that's kind of what determines that 50. But there is no possibility for us to offer a non-renewable supply, which would be like the equivalent of Con Ed's.
And when is your next contract?
So this contract goes until the end of November, and the new one would start December 1st. But there's a whole series of things, you know, you've got your 30-day opt-out period before that. You've got what they now want, 2 months of outreach before that. So there's a whole series of things that have to happen before then. And as I say, we're leaving a little more space for both that and other, purposes.
And do you have a graph perhaps of the months before January, February, and March to share?
Let me see. That's easily available on our website. I'm not logged into the internet here, but we maintain that on the website, the whole history going back to 2016. And I mean, that's essentially this information more or less, so you will see that in graph form.
What's the average amount of kilowatt hours used per year for residents in, typical Westchester County home?
Tell you on a monthly basis, and then we can multiply. Generally, like if you're talking a single-family home from sort of here on up, maybe the average between 1,000 and 1,400 kilowatt hours a month. If you're talking about smaller townhome apartments or something, they can be around 500 or so. Very small users we have a lot that are like 200 or 300 in small apartments.
So a penny per kilowatt hour then is worth about $120 a year? So if you're talking about 2024, 3 cents, that would be
Yeah, so
$360.
just doing some quick math because I knew you were going there, and so I was just doing some quick math. So I just did the average of 1,200 kilowatt hours per month. 3 cents would be $36 a month. Essentially, is what the upcharge for a resident might be for having the renewable versus a Con Ed standard, but they do have the option to opt out or go with their own ESCO. So, but yeah, I was just trying to get an answer for you there, Don, as quick as I could.
So that was $36
But
a
then
month.
again, that's just the energy charges itself.
Right.
Then you have the delivery charges on.
So that's $36 a month? Is that what you
But
said?
then, I mean, given if it's an average, if you're saying an average between 1,000 and 1,400 kilowatt hours per month for an average household, if we just did 1,200 as the average, and a 3 cent difference would be a difference of about $36 a month that someone who was automatically enrolled in the program at a renewable rate would be paying that extra over the Con Ed rate,
Right now.
potentially, obviously depending on a lot of factors.
Okay.
And during that time, you should note that our rates were still the lowest among the ESCOs.
Right.
But nevertheless, there was
Yeah, and in previous presentations, we've seen the comparable ESCOs versus what the the Westchester Power rates have been. But again, and just, I mean, 4 of us have sat through this presentation a few times. 3 of us sat through it many times. And Don, you haven't seen the presentations yet, but this is, and I think it became clear, but it would automatically enroll all Westchester, all Rybrook residents in this program, except for those who are already enrolled in ESCOs, I believe.
Yes, and actually, since you've been in the program this long, it would be the currently enrolled customer.
It would be currently enrolled,
And
right.
anyone who opts out will
Stays
remain
opts out,
unless they come to us. and
Once
say-
you make an opt-out choice, it stays unless you opt it back in.
Right, and we saw the stat, I think, that in Rybrook, it showed about 1,900 households. We have about 30, Chris, correct, we have around 3,300.
About 3,300.
About 3,300 households in Rybrook.
And as was said, if those households had already signed up to other ESCOs, they wouldn't have come in originally. Or if they happen to be on the HEAP programs or something, it would be.
If I can give you a little bit more information on the
please, Chris.
averages. So based on the 1,000 kilowatt average monthly charge, just taking 1,000, this is from a neighboring community website. Just from November of last year till February of this year, just to give you a sense, comparing the Con Ed standard rate with the Westchester Power 100% renewable, which we have, In November, it was about $38 additional. December was $33 additional. January was $18, just under. And then February was like $5. So it does vary from month to month, depending on what the differentials are each month. So in that, even in this range, it went from 5 to 38.
Yeah, and, you know, really, those 2 years were awful, and you've
Right.
all heard the Ukraine story.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we don't have to go there, but that, you know.
So to be, if I could just mention, so just to be clear in terms of time frame, Dan is asking for us to make the board to make a decision at the next board meeting, the latest, because the date they were looking for was April 19th, I believe, and we meet on the 22nd, which we explained.
Couple of days, because there's a couple of boards that are not meeting until like the 21st.
Okay.
So we may.
We're the 22nd.
Yeah. But we don't wanna go too far beyond that, because again, you start getting a little whiff of the summer, and then the psychology is like, you know, things could drift up, so.
Right. We are, yeah, and our next meeting is the 22nd.
Yep.
And we don't have a resolution in front of us right now.
No, it
so
was in, we had explained that it would be,
and
the
it
board
would-
was looking
so
for the
when-
information, and then we'll make a decision at the next meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, so when we get to those points, it's often that there might be one or two communities that haven't yet signed on yet. If there was like an indication of the board, like, you know, we did a sounding and like, we're pretty good, so, you know, but we have to go through the motion. That would be helpful. Anything that we can do to help, let the bidders know, you know, how many they're likely to have, or else it's difficult for them.
Right. And the idea being the more households that are involved in it, the more power that Westchester Power has in order to negotiate a better contract.
Yes,
There's
but
at least the
not only
hope.
that, they bid on a certain profile, so, you know, and every group of customers has a little bit different profile, so if you kind of pull pieces out, then their numbers aren't necessarily where they were.
Could you clarify, last time I remember you had to choose either the 50% or the 100% if you were going to enroll in it. And I thought there was, you had to pick one if you wanted to go back to the other one, but you couldn't go the other way. Could you walk
right.
through that?
Okay, last time we were trying to see if we could dial in, what they call the tier 1 reps.
That's right.
Right? And so we made this construct where, okay, the NYSERDA is not, offering up those recs until later in the year in August. So we said, everybody, let's sign on to the standard, renewable recs at 50%, because that's your minimum, remember, renewable content. And even if this fails and we don't get the tier 1, we'll have a contract which still stands. And then it turned out that the timing on those rec supplies was just too rigid. We still had to do the outreach.
So
The
it's not
outreach
in-
has to
we have-
know the price, you know, and we did the outreach, so it didn't.
So the
work.
board would-
We took those pieces out.
Okay.
It's like the original.
So the board would have to decide if they want to continue, and if they do, then it would be at the 50 or at the 100, and that's the decision.
That's the decision. You
Okay.
have to authorize the participation at the level.
All right. Other questions or comments from the board?
Nope.
I mean, I think, you know, we certainly can have the conversation to see, and I'm happy to, you know, query the board and see where they stand prior to the April 19th deadline for that. You know, obviously we wouldn't be passing any resolution until the 22nd. You know, my personal feeling, and I'll just say my personal feeling, is that we have 1,900 residents that are, you know, households, I should say, not residents, but 1,900 households that are currently enrolled in this program. I see no reason to discontinue it, to try and help move things forward environmentally. It does come at a cost, there's no doubt about that. And, but again, you know, we will certainly have this conversation and try and at least get you a sentiment by the 19th, but obviously we wouldn't be able to guarantee any action until the 22nd. Is there any other comment from the board? I mean, anyone's welcome to voice, you know, kind of where they're standing right now, you know, what their mindset is. Otherwise, we'll just, you know, table this until a future time.
I prefer to wait until the 22nd.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have no questions right now.
Okay. Well, Dan, thank you for coming and giving the presentation to the village. We appreciate it.
Have a great productive evening.
You too.
Thank you. All right, we are moving into our first public hearing, which is a public hearing on the fiscal year, and this is actually the 25-26. No,
What's that? Oh, it's got the wrong year?
the 25-26.
Well, that'd be easy. We're done, I guess, right?
Tentative budget, which you can also find if you click on 5.2, the Westchester Power Rybrook presentation.
Good night.
Chris,
One more time, Stephanie? No, you don't want to stay for this?
Chris, as just a procedural question, do we need to open the public
Yes.
hearing before your
It
presentation?
honestly doesn't matter. There's
Let's
no
open.
procedural.
Let's open. All right. So I need a motion and a second to open the public hearing on the budget.
So moved.
Second?
Greg.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino? Yes. Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you, Chris. The floor is yours.
Somebody needs a password on this, I think.
Don't shout it out loud.
Yeah. I like that he turned off the TV to enter the password.
Hey, the link was messed up over here.
Yeah, the link was. No, I know.
That's
If
it.
you
Okay,
do it,
go.
it goes to
I know,
this.
yeah.
That's what.
On the Westchester one.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't show. Make sure the password's not showing on the screen.
I would just like to know how much of those administrative costs.
Let's make sure this is blotted out here.
Whoa, whoa.
Yep. Okay. Good. Although it does give number of characters, but.
I don't know how in 1900 households. I can't believe all of them are green. I think if they knew, it would fit.
You know, people would have trouble guessing my passwords.
Mine is not password.
Password?
Mine is not.
Right.
They always say, don't use password.
Yeah, no.
Or your dogs, or your.
Right. Well, I have no problem saying what I use for my passwords but my passwords are I use a combination of letters, symbols, but the general gist of it is scientific nomenclature. So, good luck.
Yeah, that's what I use too, scientific
Science
nomenclature.
I read a book where
See,
it
this is
discussed,
me
it
at my
discussed
computer
the
trying to remember what my password
Fabianacci,
is.
yeah, is that interesting?
I
It
would
was
say, and the
interesting.
number of species that exist on planet Earth.
This is serious. This is me at my
Where it makes
computer
them up?
trying to remember what my password is.
Wow. Oh, we have that in our thing where we can,
No, this is
Greg, why don't you just reset it?
oh, okay, it's really,
There's a password app where you can sort, but Apple has an email store in there too.
I really should, because I can't remember.
Because, yeah, I can't.
Yeah, my current password is 17 characters long. But I have to change it.
If mine was it would be too long.
Is anybody hot or are you comfortable? Are you all hot or comfortable?
It's a little warm, maybe.
That's what I said.
No. We already were privy to the magic wand last night.
Did you return it? Did you return the
Here, wait, back here.
I changed the batteries just for tonight. It energizes.
Hello. It is, this is our first
I always want to know why.
Yeah, I know.
This is why I'm always tempted to throw my computer out the window.
Oh,
'Cause I
'cause
can't remember my password.
I hate to say, Steven, what's my number?
It's gonna be a minute, guys.
No worries. We should all we should stretch for a second.
Sympathetic stretch. It's a good idea.
My
Are
phone
we on
tells me
video?
when
Can
to
we do
stand.
like
It's
can we do
okay,
like a
we're-
tie bow
Jason.
thing up here? You know.
Jason, I'm just gonna.
Okay, yeah.
Can you get
This is a
through?
good bathroom break.
See, if
Oh,
we're
that's
on
a good
video,
time,
we
you're
could
right.
lead like an exercise class for the
That's
public. If we're on video still, which I imagine we would be.
Long couple of days, huh?
Has been.
Yeah, it's
Still
water.
only Tuesday?
There you go.
Yeah, I know. I know. I said if I can get through, if I can make it till Wednesday morning, good to go.
I know, I'm exhausted. I didn't catch up.
And I may not. And it may be well before I have another tuna sandwich.
Oh, really? Oh, got it.
Is there literally gonna be a couple minutes or no? Warning.
Go right ahead. Thank you.
Anything good?
Here we go.
Aw, aren't you sweet?
Yeah, I miss you already.
No, I missed you more.
What have I missed?
Sal got me water. And he told me he missed me already.
Yes, always. Chris, would you like one of my old
So we
passwords?
could plug in my computer potentially if it's just the presentation. Okay. There we go.
All right?
Great, perfect
Perfect
timing.
timing.
Everyone's back.
You have a green light, look.
Yeah. Put it to the side.
Is there a light you have here when we're on and off?
Oh, it's on.
No, all the time?
All the
Oh,
time.
really?
So tonight, we're very pleased to present the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2025 through 2026. It's been many months to get to this point. We started last December. We start working on the budget, really, and spending a lot of time sending out, direction. We get direction from the village board in terms of, feedback in terms of where we can work, trying to work within the tax cap, some of the goals that we set. And we send out a budget message to the department heads. The department heads really start getting to work, as well as our treasurer's office and my office, and we start really diving into the budget, looking at different goals and objectives that we're looking to achieve. And departments then submit the budgets, then we have meetings with the budgets, many meetings with the budgets. Michael, extra meetings with the budgets for this year? And
First time in 20 years.
yes, and then we present the goals, and then we have to present the budget to the village board, and the budget has to be submitted by March 20th by village law, so that we always submit it right on March 20th. Always kind of get a kick out of that the administrator has to file it with the clerk, which, I hold both titles, so it's a little odd. Just take 2 stamps. And the board then it becomes the village board's budget, and then it's totally in their hands to make any modifications that the board sees fit. The board then has work sessions with all the departments and myself and our treasurer, Tricia LaPree, and Lauren Simmons in her office, deputy treasurer, and Greg Rivera in my office. And there's a lot we dive into the details. And we're very proud of the whole process. We think everyone really works together, from direction of the village board to the input. The departments really come at it straight here in Rybrook, and always have. They don't ask for this hoping to get something else. They really talk about what the needs are for the departments, give some options where their options are available, and so there's decisions that can be made by our offices as well as the village board. So we think it's a really healthy process, and I think it works really well. And the board, as the mayor said before, we spent, 4.5 hours yesterday, and about 4 hours last Monday, and really dive into the details, and it's a good, healthy discussion. The budget has to be adopted by May 1st, or the tentative budget becomes the budget. So we always kind of keep the same goals, because I think we believe in them, and we think that these are really, the goals that we try to keep as a municipality. What do you want to do? You want to keep the taxes as low as possible. That's very important. We want to make sure the residents get a lot of value for the taxes that are paid. They want to provide high quality services. That means a lot of things when you dive into it. There's services that you have to provide, and there's services you don't have to provide. You're not required to have a recreation department or a senior center, but it's also what makes the community. People want to live in a community with those services in Rybrook, and that's what we look to do, is find that balance between some of the key needs, emergency services, as well as some of the services that the village is really looking for as a resident and really feel proud about in living in Rybrook. We also believe in reinvesting in our infrastructure. That's something that many communities push aside, or especially in areas of tax caps, and where they push that off because that all works against your tax cap. Here, working with the board, coming up with sustainable levels of investment to make sure the infrastructure is maintained, especially in the Northeast. Infrastructures take a beating. They're very old infrastructures. And unless you keep them up, those costs and those problems will continue to escalate. We also want to maintain very strong fiscal condition. As the mayor said before, we have our treasurer is our watchdog, who's here in the audience, and I should say Trish LaPree does an amazing job. She has a great staff in the treasurer's office, and I know she would give a lot of compliments to them. Her leadership is fantastic. I mean, she really does a great job, keep us on track, giving us options, but in a very great, in a really nice way, but really keeping us all on our ball. So she really does a great job as far as I'm concerned. I've said this before, we have the best treasurer around, the best one in the county and beyond. And I'm very proud of that, and proud of all the efforts that she makes. So, we look for what makes the Rybrook difference. What are people looking for? That's always the balance we want. We are again under the New York State tax cap. This is we've been under the tax cap for 13 out of 14 years. We knew that one year, that was the outlier. That was when we lost our hotels. That's when we lost the taxer issue with the town of Rye. So there was a reason for it. But our staff is lean. We're continuing to have the same amount of full-time staff as we had last year, with a total of 76 employees. Our planned debt load is low overall. Our bond rating remains strong. And we believe this budget is presented is consistent with all the financial policies that the village board sets. Okay, this slide really provides an overview over our tentative budget. So you can see our total assessed value. It's about $3.65 billion. And that's a really good sign in that it's gone up about $137 million over last year. So that's about almost a 4% increase in total assessed value. To me, that really represents both on the commercial and the residential values, both have gone up. And to me, that's a sign that, Rybrook is a good place to invest. The property values are going up. And that's a good thing. So when people have their homes are one of the most important assets they have from a financial basis, and they're showing that the values continue to climb. I couldn't even tell you the last time we had a decrease in total assessed values. The tax levy, the amount to be raised by taxation, is just about $20 million, and our total expenditures are $28 million. So that takes into other revenues to take into account other than property taxes. Let's see, the total levy is up 3.05%, which again is just under the tax cap. Our total levy goes up 4.48 if you look on the bottom. I can even highlight. So you can see here, you can see the total levies. See if I can get that going. That's not working. So the 3.05 on the bottom, homestead tax levy, which is basically our 1 and 2 family homes, goes up 4.48. And the non-homestead tax levy goes down about 2.26. We're about 6,000. The tentative budget was about 6,000 underneath the cap. So this is just kind of provides an example of our levy. So our homestead levy is about 16 million on the left side. Those again are 1 and 2 family homes. That's the tax rate you can see. The average property value in Rybrook, residential property value, is just over $1 million now. So that's the first time it's climbed over $1 million. In all the years that I've been here. So last year was in the 900s, and this year it's climbed over $1 million. Average village tax, and again, this is just the village portion of the tax, is about $5,268, so that's $5,268, which is about $233 more than last year for the average taxpayer. On the right side, that's not an average, because the homestead properties really change, they vary, whether it's large commercial, small commercial. So we just picked a number, a sample property at $10 million. So if that was a value at $10 million, they'd be paying, as you see here, about $80,000 in village $80,000 a year in village taxes. Okay, this is homestead-based proportions, and this is something that has been adopted since the town went to a revaluation process of all the homes and brought them up to full value. So homestead was a choice that was made to maintain pre-valuation balance between what the residential properties and 1 and 2 family properties versus the commercial and more than 2 family homes. So there was a relationship between how much of the tax roll was paid by the homestead properties versus non-homestead. And then post-reval, it tries to maintain that percentage. So what that does is protect the residential properties, in essence. And then over the years, the goal was kind of it should get closer together. And you really don't see that always. In fact, you can see it still spreads, which means the commercial properties are paying a much greater portion of the tax roll than if it didn't exist. So right now, the actual distribution with Homestead, the residential properties pay about 80% of the taxes, and the actual distribution without it would be about 84%. So commercial are paying about 4% what it would be if we didn't have Homestead legislation. So it does protect the residents. And here you can see the tax rate. So, you want to see those two tax rates merging. You can see this is the tax rate per thousand of assessed value. So what you want to see here is, you can see the homestead rate is, in the 5 ranges. The red is just a combined rate, and the commercials you can see is still paying much higher. So they're paying about 8%. So for that same dollar of assessed value, the properties are paying a spread between $5 per $1,000 or basically $8 if you're a commercial property. Okay, so really this is what people want to know, right? How much is my taxes changes? All those numbers, everything else, how much is my taxes changing? And the only way to really do it is to pull out your tax bills. Look at your assessed value and apply the tax rate. That's the only way you're really going to know how much is my changes, how much is it changing for me personally. So we'll just give you the average taxpayer here just as a sample. So last year, the average homeowner for residential properties was about $995, just under $1 million. And that was the homestead tax rate of 5.06. So that taxpayer was paying about $5,000 in village taxes. Again, only village tax. This year, the average, that same homeowner, the prices go up, the value went up, the rate is at its current tentative value, and that person's now paying $52.68, and that's that $233 for the year that we talked about before. You can't just look at the rates increasing or decreasing, because that's really going to depend on 2 main factors. It's going to depend on how much assessed values. You could have it if the pie is just expanding, that means everybody would be paying the same taxes if all else remained constant. So your values could go up, but you'd be paying the same amount. The pies can also decrease, and you're paying the same amount. And the relationship is, the question is, how much is your property increasing at a greater rate or greater proportion than other properties is also a factor. So the best indicator of how much your taxes are changing is the tax levy, because that's really an indication of spending. And then you can apply this tax rate to see kind of how it's impacting your particular property. In many cases, it's happened in prior years. Your value might go up and the tax rate will go down. You're still paying more because it depends on, again, those values. Okay, this is just showing you where the distribution of property tax value. So again, there's a lot of factors, and the biggest tax really is the biggest factor is your school taxes. And you can see that, let me just clear that. The biggest tax is the school taxes, and you can see that really reflected here. On the left is the Blindbrook School District in total, and on the right is the Portchester School District. The green and the blue are the same thing. They're both the school taxes. So, again, $1 million home, everybody's paying about $52.68 in taxes. If you're in the Blindbrook School District, your average home price is $1,116,650. That homeowner is paying a total tax when you add the town, the county, the school district, the village. They're paying a total tax of almost $30,000. It's $29,974. The village tax portion for that particular homeowner would be $5,672. So you see, we're about 19% of the tax bill. For the resident in the Portchester School District, the average home value is about $700,000. It's actually $700,429. Total taxes is just over $15,000, and the village tax portion is $3,558. And the village is about between 19 and 23% of the tax bill, depending on the school district. Okay, this is kind of just meant to show you where the costs are. Not a lot of surprises here. This all adds up to the 27 million in total expenditures. Slow but steady increases in most of these accounts. Where are most of our costs? There's no surprise. It's personnel and benefits. We're people providing services. That's where your costs are going to be in municipal government. Out of the 27 million, you're talking about 17 million is people and benefits. So it's the largest portion. Equipment's about 7 million. Debt service is about 1.5 million. And special accounts is about $500,000. So it gives you a little sense of about where your costs are going in terms of expenditures. In terms of debt service, I'll just touch on that briefly. Oh, thank you, Michael. In terms of debt service, just touching on that briefly, we only have one last band to be paid off, a bond anticipation note, which is great. We do have another band we're expecting in about 2 years when our fire truck gets delivered. The board has authorized the financing to be taken out, but we won't take it out until the truck actually arrives. And we have 2 serial bonds. One is a public works facility that goes until 2048, so that's still on the books for a while. But we have a tax certiorari ending that band. That serial bond is ending in 28, so 2028. So that's coming up. Okay, so what are some of our budget drivers? Certainly CPI is an impact. CPI is about 2.8% right now from February to February. So it's about 2.8. Interest rates are still remain higher than they were in past years. In terms of what's a fixed rate mortgage 30-year, you're looking at about 6.75 right now. That's what you're looking at as of today. That's good from the municipal side of it. That's good for things like interest earnings. It's bad for things like mortgage tax. We don't have as much supply out there, and people aren't refinancing. So that does take a hit on those. Certainly the tax cap is a driving condition for us. Not getting the mandate relief, which is what the mayor's talked about in the past, certainly hurts us. The state continues to put mandates on the local governments. We have a small staff, but it's important to stay full staff if we can. We have 4 vacancies right now, so we're anxious to fill that. We had 5 before tonight, so now you got 4, which is good. So that's all good news. Health insurance actually is pretty level this year. It's only about a 2.3% increase this year, which is pretty good compared to some of the prior years. But next year, we're expecting to go up more around 8. That's what they're projecting. Retirement system rates. Wow. Retirement system is big, always. That's a New York State retirement system. That's a big portion of what we do. If you're in the employees retirement, we have 2 different retirement systems. We have the employees retirement system, and we have police and fire retirement system. Employee system is about 19.5% of payroll. That includes regular pay, includes overtime pay. Any pay that you make gets taxed at about 19.5 cents on the dollar. Police and fire is almost 37, so 36.7. So that means for every dollar that we pay out, you need to pay 36.7 cents on the dollar for every dollar that we pay. So that's our biggest cost. New York State employee retirement system is a big driver for us. Developments are really important for us, overall. That helps offset residential taxes, the 900 King Street property, the Doral, the Hilton. Seeing more production out of those properties from an assessment standpoint would be a good thing for the taxpayers. Mortgage tax is down right now. We talked about that. Sales tax has been great. The county gave us the extra percent a couple of years ago. We get a portion of that. And that additional 1% county sales tax, of which we get a portion, comes back, and that started in 2019? 2019, and then post-COVID, that's really helped us. It's been level the last few years, but that's been additional revenue to offset property taxes. Building revenues are flat, but we have some signs of hope for the future with some of the developments that are out there. And again, interest rates are up. So here's just a quick slide on seeing retirement. So remember, on the left is the percentage of the salary that we pay towards the retirement system. Obviously, the salaries are different in 1985 versus 2026. But this gives you a sense about where retirement system's been, which is really all over the place. So I started here in August of 2000. When I was here in August of 2000, the retirement system costs for both systems were $18,917. So again, total cost $19,000. Next year, 2.6 million. You want to know where your costs are, that's where you look to see, so you have to understand where those expenses are going. But again, municipalities are about people providing services. It's a required thing to be able to give the retirement system.
Who determines that number?
New York State,
Who in New York State?
the comptroller's office. And they then you submit your payroll, huh?
No, it was,
You submit, right, comptroller's office. And you submit your payrolls, and then that payroll that you paid out in 1 year becomes what you have to pay the next year based on the rates that they forecast. And they got in trouble several years ago, and that's why you didn't have this floor. You could see that 4.5%. See that line in the bottom?
Yeah.
How it dropped down? Now they won't go below 4.5%. So it's always going to be a minimum of 4.5%. So you wouldn't have those years where they weren't collecting any revenue in anymore to be able to, because it caught up with them pretty quick. You can see how those lines spiked right up right afterwards. So they had to create some levelers there. Interesting that back in the 80s, the percentages actually weren't so different, right?
Right.
Compared to where they are now. I mean, generally. But when you look at it and you go, yeah, but the salaries were much different back then. So. Okay, these are just some general revenue trends. The sales tax is the big one that you can see there. That's the high bar there. You know, you can look at a bar or a line graph, but it's really, you can see the sales tax was a big boost after COVID. You saw it climb up, and it kind of levels out, but it's been a big help for us. Building inspection fees have also kind of leveled out. Building inspection fees is the blue, and then again, we're looking at that tends to fluctuate when you have developments, but these last few years you can see it's been pretty steady. And then 900 King and 975 will help make a difference there, hopefully in the future. Okay, so we look back kind of see, we talked about the goals. The first goal was keep property tax as low as possible. And you can see this is just briefly, and I'll kind of move through this fast. We've always been below, except for 1 year, we've always been what we're allowed to raise in terms of the tax levy. So you can see we're always staying within the tax cap, being fiscally responsible, but we believe also providing quality services. This year, again, the tentative budget was about $6,000 below the cap. And again, we want to keep the tax as low as possible and provide services the residents are looking for. Okay, so now I'm going to go through goal 2, maintain quality service. So we just want to go through here a little bit and talk about what's going on in our various departments. So village offices, you know, we're going through, again, convenience for the residents. We're looking to do the online registration package for building department. We're also looking to expand that in my office for certain permits, film permits and other ones. And we're also looking to do some of that in for Michael's office, Michael Nowak's office, for things like tree permits and other types of street opening permits, to be able to do everything online, which will make things more convenient for people, the users in the village. We continue with our financial transparency. We're very proud of the product that we put out for our budget. You know, a lot of places still just put out flat PDFs on their website of the entire budget. What we use is a ClearGov product. It's right on the website. It's linked at the top. It's very interactive, provides a lot of detail, a lot of information for those that want information. If you don't want all the detail, it'll also provide brief summaries for the residents, so you know they can get a quick overview about the village and what we're doing in terms of process. The NRCS closers, that's the National Resource Conservation Service. That's our the flood purchasing program, which is 100% paid for through the NRCS. We've currently purchased 6 properties, and we have 2 more on the way, and that'll be the end of that program. We've had some fantastic success with grants. Got a little concerned about uncertainty going forward on some of them, but at the same time, what we can control is submitting for them, trying to do our best to offset property taxes, and try to use that in a good, stable way for items that we really need. So our grant writer, work with our departments, really have been very successful. In terms of other things we do out of our offices, you know, Con Ed rate case is something that the board's very familiar with. You know, we currently have worked with 38 communities, with Rybrook taking the lead, to become party to the Con Ed rate case and hire counsel and technical consultants that's really will be providing testimony and be involved in any settlement discussions, which is very important for our taxpayers. Oh, see, he left.
He's
Yeah.
We have a fantastic police
Hey.
department.
There he is.
You're up. As we all know, we have a fantastic police department. They do a great job. Accredited police department, which shows that they have the standards, the commitment to communities policing, and really keeping the community safe. There's been a series of, we've had a lot of vacancies in the department in the last year, so we've been working hard to fill that. Eric has, our police chief has, trying to fill those positions, working with his department, and find the candidates that we're looking for that we think will really work well with the community and have that community mind policing that we really want to do best to keep people safe and also, be really interactive with the residents, is what we're looking for. New officers, police officers, we've welcomed Avery Tompkins, Matthew Sheriff, Darren Sekenikoff, Trevor Burns, since the last discussion we had, so we were able to fill it. The one, while it's down, it's terrible, too bad that we've lost employees due to retirement. It also provides opportunities for others to get promotions and others to move ahead into new positions, and that creates opportunities for people too. Perhaps the biggest promotion we had was our new police chief, Eric Dengler, is in the back of the room. So he's doing a great job. We've had 3 new sergeants since we last were doing this presentation. Sergeant Muchler, David Krzeski, and Paul Demore. Huh? He was, also Titus Alexander has also assigned to the Detective Bureau. And SRO, the other big change, this will be the first full year of having an SRO, the school resource officer at the Portchester Middle School. Last year was just part of the year, so this will be the first full year coming up. We do have one remaining vacancy, and we're about to have one more with another retirement that just occurred. So we'll have 2 vacancies. We'll have to fill those quickly and be back to full staff. Okay, quality services. Our fire department, we do have money in the budget for a new part-time supervisor in the police department. That's something we think would really help the department. It was one thing when we were 4 and then 8, and we're now 12 firefighters. So this is really a point where they really would help to have more, on-site supervisor that could work with them, schedule, things that they need to be doing and working on throughout the day, and I think that would be a very nice addition to the department. We need to replace our training officer. Our training officer just retired, which was a consultant, and now he was a consultant, and then he became an employee part-time, and unfortunately he's now fully retired, so we need to fill that position. And we're also we're in the final stages of replacing our fire engine, which is a year 2000 Spartan Salisbury vehicle. So we got our use out of that. It's over 25 years old at this point. It does take about 2 years. The spec is just completed, and it does take about 2 years to get that delivered. Michael, you have some new employees here, I see. So this is our public works. Again, high-level, high-functioning departments, as we believe all of them are. But they do a great job. We're looking to do some new things here. We have AI. We're going to be using AI intelligence for a new street management, street rating system, which we think will be a great tool for us and for residents. It's going to take images in 10-foot segments. It gets it done in literally less than a week. You get everything put in place, everything on the website. You get your roads rated. So yeah, once we get the agreements done, which is we're working on, we'll be able to start that project and get that done. We had to wait for the winter to end anyhow. You can't really do it in the winter when the streets are covered. New street sweeper, Michael Nowak has done a great job getting us a nice sized grant for a new street sweeper, which offsets almost all the cost. And they really are, we look at public works, they're really the backbone of our operations. Every emergency that's out there, every bad weather event, they're the ones that are out there. They're supporting our emergency services. They're making sure they're kept safe. So they're the ones watching out for us. They're the ones that are maintaining the streets for the residents. They're the ones that really, when there's a sewer break in the middle of the night, they're coming out and, all day and any time of day to do what needs to be done to keep everybody safe. So again, they maintain our roads, our sewers, vehicle maintenance, parks and community events, and we certainly do a lot of those in the community, which is great. And again, they're really an extension of our emergency services, the way we like to think of them.
And Chris, I believe you're in that picture as well.
Oh, yeah?
Taking the
Oh, the image?
reflection.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
There.
That's it. That's funny. Good catch.
Oh, I see.
EMS is also, this is a contract that we have
Yep.
with Portchester, Rybrook, and Tri-City all working together. We have had increasing costs in EMS, and that's a planned increase, where we've done a multi-year, 5-year plan of increasing our investment into that. And a lot of that speaks to recruitment and retention, which has been highly successful. We have a lot of stability in that agency now. When it was really tough, we were down to bare bones, and a lot of people left after COVID, which is really a national issue and a state issue. But we've done a nice job kind of holding that off and righting that ship, which is great. We're also working on other bigger picture issues like, New York State legislation to allow villages and cities to work together to consider a district. That was something that came out of a study. Right now, only towns can do that. So we need to get legislation changes for that, which we're working on, as well as, declaring them as an emergency essential service, which is extremely important, both to the people in that field as well as others, because that means you have to provide it. Because in New York State, as we talked about, you do not have to provide EMS, which is the result is you get a lot of closures and a lot of people having to cover greater service areas, greater times at the hospitals, a lot of backups at the hospitals. So the field is changing a lot. They're looking to do more care in the field and being able to be reimbursed for that type of care. Okay. Recreation. We work really hard to come up with events to bring the community together, and we hope the residents see that and something that they're looking for. We run, events on steroids, we like to say. We do these quick hit events, we do long events that take a lot of planning, but also just as important is maybe that hour-and-a-half event and bringing people together and creating that opportunity. It's nice even when you leave that event, you see just so many people still there enjoying the time together, and that's what it's about being in a community. School-age childcare. This is a very important program for the community. This is a New York State licensed program that we offer. It's registered through the state, gets inspected by the state and the health department. It's run at the Ridge Street School, and it also happens to be a good revenue source for us as well. There's only two communities, as far as I know, in the county that offer this program, and it does require a commitment that the village supports, which is when school's over, we care for the children until 6:30 every day that school is open. Trustee Epstein has really led a lot of fitness initiatives and expanding that out, the importance of being active in the community and getting out, not just seeing your neighbors and coming out together and meeting new people, but also being part of something and being part of something positive are good for their health. Pickleballs, again, expanding nonstop. So that's, we have our 3 new pickleball courts. We're in queue for, because there's so many people that want pickleball courts. There's a big demand from the contractors, and they said they're going to be starting in May, we heard, right, Trish? We heard in May, we're one of the first ones that they're starting, which is what we've been pushing for. We have a vacancy, which it was filled in rec department, but we still have a parks vacancy when somebody moved from parks over to the highway department. And we're going to be monitoring, from a fiscal perspective, we're going to be monitoring the summer camp fee impact, and we'll talk about that in September after we see the results. Sustainability. This is something that's very important to the village. It's kind of a very highlighted program that the village feels very strongly about. So we have the electrical vehicle chargers. We're working with the county and the contractor to move that program forward at its glacial pace that they do tend to move forward in. But they continue to keep that at the forefront, providing education. We do our food scrap programs. That is very, cars are going in and out nonstop throughout the day, which is great. Roots and Shoots, we work with the schools, and their Roots and Shoots Club. They have a whole environmental program that they started just, I think, 2 years ago. And we work very closely with Julie Helmsley at the school and making sure that the village and the school work together for those types of things for the future of our village. Native plantings, we always try to monitor. Michael Nowak is an arborist, a certified arborist, and he's able to keep us on track on the right type of plantings. We have Arbor Day coming up. And also, monitoring the seasonal leaf blower ban, which is a newer program for us. senior services. You know, Liz Rothfeld does a great job there, and our seniors are so active, and it's all about all the seniors getting together, and you know, we have a large baby boomer population that is, I really want whatever they have there. I don't know what, in my head, it's a chocolate chip cookie. I'm sure it's not, but in my head, that's what it is. That's one of my
Those are
weaknesses.
big giant.
Yeah,
those would be
two big giant cookies in my mind.
That's what I was hoping for,
Yeah,
Chris.
exactly. But she does a great job. But also, you know, there's a lot of different needs of the seniors now. They're very active. You know, they're looking for, I mean, they had a great intergenerational program with, Mayor, how many kids were there?
30 school children.
30 school children were
from
there,
the middle
high
school and high
middle
school.
with our seniors playing, you know, pickleball and ping pong and cornhole, as well as board games and everything else. And it was just great to see. Again, to me, that's what a community is, right? Everyone getting together and having fun. We're very active. Again, a lot of fitness programs we run there. Capital projects, we really invest a lot of money with the board support in terms of money put into the building itself. And one of the nice additions recently was the Giving Garden, which is we're able to raise, it's outside on the patio, and they create nice gardens that the food gets generated there goes back to our seniors and others that have that need. So our third goal, reinvesting in capital projects. Again, we're very proud of our capital program. And I think the board should be proud of it, the staff should be proud of it. I think it's something that, you know, too many places aren't doing right now. GREED is our total amount of general fund monies and grants that go towards it. It doesn't include the bonds, so that's why you'll see it drop a little bit underneath the red in that 1 year. That's when we did a little bit more bond financing. But we continue to reinvest. We continue to, we haven't had to issue new debt because we've been establishing the policies of having to debt only when it's appropriate and necessary for long-term investments. We're able to use funds designated for capital projects to offset our capital expense, and there's money there for that purpose, which is able to not require new tax dollars to go towards that purpose, so for capital projects. So we've been able to sustain a very robust capital program without property taxes going towards it. Okay, these are the capital projects. Again, I'm not going to go through each one here, but in short, it's about 2.1 million, 19 projects. And believe me, there's important projects that are on this list. It's a little hard to read. I apologize for that. But, you know, you'll see there's grants that are offsetting it. The CHIPS is our consolidated highway funds we receive as well from the federal government. We got about $425,000 in grants, as we mentioned before, the new street sweeper for a $425,000 vehicle. Then we have a grant for $325,000 of it, thanks to the work of Mr. Nowak. We just received one of 3 CDBG grants. We just got recommended for approval through the county, and hopefully that'll go through its process. So we're looking forward to very important projects at AJP. Again, infrastructure, retaining wall, but also nice things like replacing some of the fencing that's right on the highway, things like that, that's out there. So, just gonna open these all up.
Amazing.
So strong fiscal condition was our 4th goal, if you remember from the beginning. So, you know, fiscal stress monitoring, which is a part of a New York State monitoring system. As per the last one, which we're still waiting for this year's, our current score was 0. They start to rank in certain categories where you have concerns. You see trends that are happening that the municipality should be aware of. Concerns start at 45. Again, last time was at 0. That's crazy. You know, it's how low. Our bond rating is extremely small for one of the highest ratings for a small community, which is AA1. Our fund balance is solid. We have about a 23.5% of our general fund is in our fund balance, and again, that helps as a practice offset our capital expense in the long run. Low debt, we talked about that before. You know, what could we raise in debt? What, 232 billion, is it? No.
Million.
Right? $232 million is what we could do under that. We have about $13 million in debt. And again, pretty much all that is the highway garage. Property values, you can see overall values are going up. Again, it's a good place to invest in Rybrook. So we're, again, strong financial condition. The important part of that is offsetting property tax. We got about $185,000 in our after-school program, $508,000 in other rec programs to offset some of the activities we have. New cell tower lease, that's another one, offsets property tax. So it's straight money we get to have the cell tower on the property, currently $160,000. Our compost site lease has escalating costs. Right now, $168,600 for that. Airport garage revenue, we just renegotiated that with the county for a short term right now to increase it to $150,000. You can see a listing of all the grants that we've had there, from 28 million, what's that? 28 million to, I see you're commenting on what? Which
No,
one?
I'm not commenting.
Oh.
I didn't know that was agreed to.
That was a short term, remember the extension, not for the long term.
Okay.
28 million, the HAP wall, the 3 projects there. You can see there's a lot of money here. Again, we're hoping that these all stick and we continue to get the funding for them. We'll be optimistic, and again, this is what we can control, is applying for it and trying to protect the residents. Here's a slide we added also this year, which is just trying to show you, the future of our debt, where we've been in the past and where we're going forward. So this, again, we try to plan our debt. We look at our debt not just in the last several years or the current year, but where is it going forward? If you look at even our audits, you'll see the history and you'll see the future, and even in the budget, you'll see a forecast going forward for many years about what our forecasted debt payments are going to be based on where we are now. Our debt load is low, our bond payments are declining, and that's the message here. You can see the green is really just adding up our serial bonds and our bands, or our bond anticipation notes. But the green one is the one we want to highlight here, the green line on top. So you can see, if you look at the years at the bottom, this is projecting forward 3 years. And you can see our debt load is expected to drop even more in the next several years, which would position us for any other projects we want to do, long-term projects, anything that you're looking for. If the village has the capacity, if you make the policy decision to do modifications to our infrastructure or add buildings or a program, if that's something as a board, as a policy wants to do, our debt is extremely low. So we have the capacity and not to hurt residents in any way, because we're going to have the declining payments over the next several years. Okay, again, apologize, it's a little hard to read, but we had to put this together from last night. So what this slide does, this just is a summary. The board has had 2 work sessions at this point, and these are the modifications that the board has contemplated. None of these take effect until the board adopts the budget or it takes a vote on the budget, which is expected at the next meeting. You can see the changes that were done and the impact of it. So this would change, we still would be below the property tax levy by just under $2,000. There's also several license and fee schedule amendments that were modified as well. So we've made some modifications where we're working with the departments. And from a tax impact standpoint, this is just a quick summary of from the tentative budget to the village board work sessions. This would be the change in the levy. That would be the tax levy increase would go from a 3.05 to 3.08. You can see the impact on homestead and non-homestead properties, as well as the amount under the cap, which was just a quick summary, a snapshot of if the board acted on the changes made to date, this would be the impact. So lastly, I just want to thank everyone. It's a lot of work. You can see there's a lot of thought that goes into it. Thank you to the board for all your support and for giving us the direction that we need. The department heads, an amazing job. They really work hard, as you can see with all the backup that's available to everyone. We are extremely transparent here in Rybrook. We want people to know, what we're doing and how it impacts them. We want to do that in a very straightforward way. And again, lastly, thank you to Greg and Lawrence, but also especially to Trish, who again does such a great job as our treasurer. Thank you.
All right. Well, Chris, thank you for that presentation. Certainly us sitting up here know how much time and effort goes into this budget and how much work goes in to, again, hitting those 4 target goals. From a resident standpoint, trying to remain as fiscally conservative as possible and stay within that tax cap while providing the same level of services is not easy, especially with escalating costs and, and not knowing where these costs are going to go, especially in times of uncertainty like they are now. If you sat through our budget hearings, you would have heard things about even, just the price of plow blades and, where to source those and how to try and keep those costs down as we're looking. I mean, it's little things like that that have to be accounted for throughout this and throughout the year. So we know this wasn't an easy year for staff. We know this wasn't an easy year for the departments. We appreciate all the hard work and effort that went into this, and just say thank you. And before we open up to more comments from board, I would say that this is a public hearing, and if there's any member of the public that would like to speak on the budget, now would be the time.
I know. It felt good to stand here for a little bit for me, before. If you could just lower the mic down, it would be helpful for us. Thank you.
Well, I really wanted to comment on the letter that I sent you all, but first I just have a question. After watching the presentation, if I may, just ask a question.
Please, this is a public hearing.
Well, I know, but it's not a comment, it's just a question. Those retirement systems,
Mhm.
New York State and the one for the fire and the police.
Yes.
Do you have any options, or is that the only?
No, not really. I mean, there's options within the retirement, but we have pretty much all the basic programs that are in the retirement system options. So the only way to, and once there's a benefit in a retirement system, you can't undo that benefit under the New York State Constitution. So the only way to change a benefit level, so we're, like, I'm a Tier 4 retiree. In order to change the Tier 4 retirees' benefits, you would have to change the New York State Constitution, which takes 3 years to do, and it's very difficult with a lot of lobby groups. So the reality is they're not going to do that. What they do is they create a Tier 5 and a Tier 6 and change the benefits to something less costly. But of course, you don't see that for many years because that will only affect new employees entering in the system, which they won't be retiring for many years. So yeah, it's a very expensive endeavor.
And Chris, if we're up to Tier 8, right? Tier,
Are we? No.
What are we on?
Six.
Is it six?
Six.
Six. Okay.
Six.
Tier 6.
But there's no competitors.
No, it's a New York State run system, and you have to offer it. Even to part-time employees, you have to offer it. They don't usually take it because they don't want the funds taken out, but you have to offer it.
Makes it hard to budget.
Yeah, I just saw that.
15,000 to 2.5 million. Yes, that's in my career here.
Okay, well, really what I've been wanting to talk about is, I sent you a letter requesting some updates to the section of the village code that deals with the partial property tax exemption for senior citizens. The tax relief that is available ranges from a little 5% all the way up to 50%, depending on the property owner's level of income. The reason for my request is because the details of the law, the village law, have not been updated in decades. There are two types of adjustments that can and I feel should be made. And the first one raises the income levels for just inflation and cost of living increases. The county, the town, the school district, they all have increased the income limits that apply to their taxes, but the limits for the village taxes have not been adjusted for cost of living increases since 2007, which is like almost 2 decades ago. The second type of adjustment refines the laws that determine what qualifies as income for purposes of the partial senior tax exemption, and they provide some guidance on how to treat items like distributions from your IRAs that seniors have to account for. I think that for simplicity, I would suggest, if you wanted to go forward with this, I would suggest just adopting the same rules that the county adopted. But it's important to meet that May 1st deadline, the taxable status deadline. I know it's short notice, but it's important because of the long lead time in the way the tax assessment process works. If you miss this year's deadline, then the seniors can't see any reduction in their village tax bills until June of 2027. So it is a long lead time. Now, I'm not sure why this part of the village code has not been updated in so long. These are simple updates. They do not reduce the village's total tax revenues, and they're not controversial. I was listening to the leaf blower discussion before and thinking that is very controversial, but these are not. I mean, people in one district, you don't hear taxpayers from the school district complaining about it, or the town or the county. People are pretty much satisfied with it. I think it seems likely that this was just maybe overlooked due to other priorities. You have had a lot of other crises and a lot of other issues and concerns, and so that's why I sent you the letter as a reminder. And I would just ask, if you're willing to do so, if you could please put this on the agenda for the next Board of Trustees meeting, and just take whatever steps are needed to get the village code updated by May 1st. Is that doable?
It would require a special meeting, but it's doable. But it is possible, but it's tight, but it is possible.
It could be done.
It's a possibility.
Do you have any reservations about? I don't know if you had a chance to read the letter. It just kind of lays out the 5% to 50%, and then the difference between. I think it went all the way back to 29,000 or something like that to get 50%.
It was a lot.
So,
Do we have any
just
idea of how many people it would?
no, I don't know. Maybe we could.
And perhaps that way
We could, but probably not before the end of the month. That, but we could look into that. I mean,
Charlie's able.
yeah, so we could tell how many people have what we can do is get information on how many people have taken that exemption in other taxable district areas, that are within the town. And just to comment on, I have discussed it with prior boards, and so at that point there wasn't a policy decision to move forward, but it always can be considered. You're asking it to be considered now. It doesn't impact it does not what it does do and what it doesn't do. So it would not impact our budget in any way. It would not impact our tax rates or our levy. What it does do is it would give an exemption for the seniors who would get a discount, but that means the other taxpayers would pay whatever's not paid by the seniors from that portion would get made up by the rest of the tax base or the homestead tax base. So that's the policy discussion that would be required.
My feeling from talking to Charlie is that it would not be material, would not be significant, but that's really that's for you to decide. So, thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming.
And it's such great news to hear about the 38 municipalities who are in the Con Ed rate case. That was awesome, Chris.
Thanks. Thank you.
That's all for Chris.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. And do we have any other comments from the public? Any comments from the board on the budget?
No.
No.
All right, then I'll need a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes, and thank all of you for helping put this budget together.
Trustee Crom?
Yes, please.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. And again, there's no action further than this on the public hearing. We'll be voting on the budget at the next meeting, which will be in 2 weeks. The next item on the agenda would have been a public hearing authorizing a law, public hearing on a proposed law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3C for the fiscal year beginning June 1st, 2025. We have a budget that is within the tax cap, so we do not need to have a public hearing on this, nor do we need a resolution on this.
You don't need if there's no action taken on opening the public hearing, it just dies.
and it will just die. Although I will reassert that New York State is a home rule state, and these artificial tax caps placed on us by New York State without any mandate relief is contrary to what the way that this was set up in the state of New York, and I won't tirade anymore. Because
Would you
I
like to
already-
single out a specific governor?
No, I'm not going to do that. I would, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. But it was, no. All right. Moving on, we have a public hearing, 6.3, public hearing on a proposed local law amending Chapter 9 of the Village Code regarding notary requirements for application submissions. So can I have a motion and a second, please, to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Chris, I would say brief background?
Sure, yes.
Because
Going
we did cover this
really
last
brief is we're going to online applications. You can still do things in paper if you had to, but you still have to submit an electronic copy. But in online applications, in paper applications for the building department, you used to need a notary. Now the online applications have a different process, which is electronic signature, and you can then upload proof of who you are through a license or deed or other options, which is on top of the the electronic signature. Our code requires a notary, so in order to move forward in that direction, you need to remove it from the code.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any questions from the public on this?
Come on, Eric.
Any questions or comments from the board? I know this is something that we covered recently. This is moving the village forward to allow easier,
Streamlining.
to allow streamlining of the process and to allow easier submission and the ability for us to get the information to our staff and to the public.
Quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Questions or comments from the board?
Well,
Just speaking as a retired attorney, I have always found the notion of notarization to be ridiculous.
You know, this is also a good opportunity for these contractors who are doing work without permits. They can file right away.
Yeah,
The night before.
Things could be filed right away, but it does still allow for some paper submission.
Yep.
If there are changes made in the field or if something needs to be hand done. It
Right.
still does allow for that. But I think this is really the trend of the way everything is going, not just in Rybrook, but in other municipalities, and it keeps us current with the times. But we obviously have to change the law because as they're digital submissions, you can't walk in with your computer and get that notary stamp on the computer.
You could, but
won't
it would
do-
break the computer.
It won't do you much good.
Right. I was actually having a conversation today with a contractor about a different issue, and he said that, how come we don't have this? And I said, well, we're actually discussing it right now, and it's going to save you a lot of time, and I think he's going to be really pleased with it.
Yeah, it's going to be a very good way to issue permits, for sure.
Right.
My
So-
experience is that online thing was great.
So, but they always have the option of coming into the office.
Yes.
So I want to make that clear to the residents. While the contractors may have a good sense of what they need to do, the individual may want that personal touch and have questions answered, and they can always come in.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Nope.
All right, we need a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. And we'll move right into the resolution. Resolution 5, considering adopting a local law amending Chapter 9 of the Village Code regarding notary requirements for application submissions.
Whereas Chapter 9 of the Village Code regulates notary requirements for applications, and whereas under the code, applications can be filed in person and required to be notarized, and whereas Rybrook seeks to streamline the application process, and whereas the proposed local law will allow applicants to upload identification in lieu of a notary for application submissions, And whereas the Board of Trustees held a public hearing on April 8th and closed the public hearing after any comment. And whereas this is a type 2 action under seeker, and now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby adopts the proposed local law to amend Chapter 9 of the Village Code regarding notary requirements for application submissions.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
And as we get into the approving this resolution, I should say that Trustee Heiser just pulled up a bit of information that I was unaware of, and that's that. And when I say we're moving into current times with removing this, that the notary concept dates back to Roman times. So
Yeah.
to say we're moving
It's
into modern
amazing.
times is maybe
Too fast.
You know, a quick aside. So we have 3 notaries in the administration office, and the bank stopped doing it. So we get swamped with notary requests all the time because the banks aren't doing it anymore.
It's also very dangerous, Ralph, you probably know this, as an attorney, if you're a notary, because if you're not an attorney and you screw something up as a notary, you lose your notary license. If you're an attorney and you screw something up as notary, you can be disbarred.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm not a notary, so.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And I think we know why.
My late wife was a notary, and I would caution her to please make certain as to who you were notarizing for, because of the penalties as an attorney, which is what she was, if you screw things up. Because people are always saying, oh, my uncle was going to sign this, but he couldn't. But trust me, this is my uncle's signature.
Right.
And the hard part is, if you are a notary, you're supposed to be obligated to notarize as long as they can prove who they are. You
Yeah.
can't just say, no, I'm not doing it. You know?
Well, the problem
There's
is,
also new requirements. You have to keep a book, and
Yeah.
you have a lot more.
We've got the logs,
log keeping that you have to do that you didn't have to do in the past.
the problem was always that a good friend would always come over and say, look, I couldn't get my grandfather to come in to sign this in front of you, but trust me, that's his signature.
All right, so now that we went down the rabbit hole on notaries, can I have a motion and second, please, on the resolution?
We did that.
Oh, we already have the.
Yep.
We already have. All right. Any questions or comments on the resolution?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Now I got to find my place here. I apologize. We don't need that. All right. Resolution number 3, considering annual organizational meeting resolutions.
Yes. Mr. Nowak was wondering what number this was. He's like,
Number 3.
only on 3?
15, but we've already covered some of it.
Made me laugh. Anyway, so the first meeting in April for villages is the annual reorganizational meeting. That's when you're supposed to reappoint people, reappoint consultants, reappoint positions. That's why we did the board members also received that they were also had the swearing in ceremony today. So this is why these items are on this agenda. And this is our annual meeting resolutions for our various consultants and so forth. So I'm going to summarize this as briefly as I can by rolling through it. So I'm just going to read the title and what the service is. So village attorney is Keenan Bean, Ralph DeMarco. Appointment of labor counsel, Littler Mendelson, Craig Benson. Tax certiorari counsel, Mark Toulis of Toulis, Wilkes, Huff and Geiger. Special water counsel, Joel Dichter. Risk manager, Foa and Sons, RJ Impastato. Engineering consultant, Rotfeld Engineering, a division of AI engineers. And that should not say Dolph's name on it anymore, but I will remove that. And retaining planning consultant, Hardesty in Hanover. Let's see, hold on one second. Special engineering consultant is HDR, Henningsen, Durham, and Richardson Architecture and Engineering, Mike Musso. Bond counsel is Fulbright and Jaworski, Randy Meyer. Appointment of auditing firm, O'Connor, Davies, Munns and Dobbins. IT consultant is Dragon Tech. Millennium Strategies is our grant writing consultant. The appointment of the village administrator and clerk is myself, Chris Bradbury. Claims auditor is Judy Belkin. Treasurer is Trish Lepre. Deputy treasurer Lawrence Simmons. They have to be on because it's certain officers have to be reappointed. Receiver of taxes is Carla Pugliese. Carla Pugliese. Registrar of Vital Statistics is Hope Vespia. Records Management Officer is Chris Bradbury, myself. Board of Trustee meeting nights is generally the second and fourth Tuesday, or otherwise adopted by the board, and also adopting the rules of procedure of the Board of Trustees, which is available online as well, and that the meeting shall start at 7:30. Signatories is the mayor, administrator, treasurer, deputy treasurer are all designated as signatories to sign checks on behalf of the village, and also the administrator, treasurer, deputy treasurer authorized to sign bonds, bans, and other obligations. And then there's a listing of various banks that we're authorized to use. Depositories, there's also the listing of the banks: J.P. Morgan, New York Class, TD Bank, Valley National, Customers, People's Bank are hereby designated as depositories. Official newspaper of the village is LOHUD, Journal News, and that's where we publish public notices and other notifications of meetings and so forth. Friends of Rybrook, the village board is designating themselves as the directors of the not-for-profit corporation, the Friends of Rybrook, to assist in donations from prospective grantors in support of qualifying activities of the village. Also, readoption of the Board of Trustees rules of procedure. Again, that's available online. And I believe that's it for this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
Motion.
Second.
You know, to me, the most disappointing part of that resolution is the loss of the Westmore News. I think
Yep.
loss of a local paper hit us big, not getting the coverage within the village that we used to. And so we hope that someday a local paper will reopen, covering at least Rybrook, Portchester, and some of the other local areas specifically. Any questions or comments from the board on any of that?
No.
So we're agreeing to all of these rates by agreeing to this right now?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't want to make it a public comment.
This is our resolution.
It's authorizing not just the rates, but that they're your consultant in these various areas that the village may or may not need,
Right.
depending on when the services
I've brought this up, a couple of times. So you have a risk management company, Boa and Sons, and
Yes.
I know that you rely on them to look at all of your policies. And just so you know, you hire a separate broker, don't you?
We don't hire them.
When you buy insurance, you buy it through a broker.
Yes, we don't, not a traditional way. They go out and they get competitive quotes. The risk manager will go out and get competitive quotes. He does not get paid by any of those services. He's not allowed to. So the Foe and Sons, just so you know, it's a different relationship, but he will sometimes use brokers to get some of the rates that are out there. Yes.
Right, so what I'm
But he's
saying-
not allowed to get, in fact, we had one broker that the company was insisting that they had to pay whoever got the business, and that risk manager actually donated the money back to the village because they had to come in some way, and he wasn't allowed to take it.
Right. So brokers get paid by the insurance company that's insuring you. So my point is that why don't we have the broker who is supposed to be working and analyzing and getting different quotes? Why don't we have that person analyzing the policies and providing that information to you? Because you're paying 15 to 20% in your policy payment. And you're
I think
hiring somebody else to do it again, is my question.
That's a very small part of what they're doing for us. The risk, it's a longer conversation, but it's our risk. What we do for our risk management program here is the risk manager not just oversees, he shepherds through all of our claims, workers' comp, general liability, whenever we have issues, when we're trying to get appointments for people. So the time is money with a lot of these workers' comp injuries particularly, and they'll work with the insurance companies, they'll work with our vendors to get to try to make sure they're getting appointments on a prompt basis, IMEs on a prompt basis. If we do any type of reviews on that, they also come monthly to our safety meetings. They do our training for our employees too, for our safety training. So they actually come in and are actually doing the training for us. They bring in all the data
It's
to
much
review.
more than risk management.
Yes, well, it's all part of risk management. It's also a lot of loss control. But they also, we review on a monthly basis. We have a safety committee, and what they do through the coordination of our risk manager is we review all of our losses. We review our making sure, seeing what our premiums are against it. We try to look to manage are the reserves too heavy? Are they not? And then that risk manager will go back and talk to our insurance companies to try to get them to reduce our reserves, so we reduce our liability, which will affect our rates going forward. We review injuries to see what could be avoided in the past, and they do the safety training for us too. So it's a lot of services that are covered. We work with them. They review every insurance that comes in. They give us recommendations on how much insurance should be covered on any type of event or anything that we're doing. So that's just a few of the things that they do.
So you think it's an added value?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, but they do it and not your insurance company?
They arrange for it. And they give us, even like on the cyber recommendations that they're going to work us through to help with us to make sure we're not getting sold different things that are excluded or not excluded, and they work with that to try to make sure, whether it be cyber or we have special recreation insurance for accidents that happen, say in a basketball court with a kids program and stuff like that. So they make sure that we have the the right, not just the coverage levels, but that we also have the training that backs it up. They coordinate like our driver's license information, our recording, so we know when if there's been a hit on anything that was a problem. So it's very interactive, I'd say, is what I was trying to say. It's not like see him once a month and that's it.
Would you ever consider just using him as your broker? And then get the added services as part of it?
Potentially. I mean, we could talk about it, yeah. I have some concerns, but yeah, we could talk about that later if you like.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
bringing that up because I know about commercial insurance.
Yes, you do.
Thank you.
It's definitely a different relationship than a lot of other places have.
Right, so if he's a good broker, then
Yeah.
we can think about it, and I know that brokers now are
Yeah.
doing more services.
Mhm.
So I'm just saying it's duplicitous sometimes.
Yeah, and he does provide that service. He does provide that service for some other communities where he's not a risk manager.
Great, thank you. Okay, I understand, Chris, well done.
Any other questions or comments on that resolution?
Yes.
Trustee Epstein? Sorry. Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 4, considering appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. And Chris, before you read the resolution,
Yes.
I would just say we've had a lot of interest from the community in joining some of these boards and commissions. With the process, the way it works, we have to do this right now. Because of the amount of response, and we really appreciate everyone reaching out about wanting to volunteer on these boards, we'll be doing a little more outreach to those who have had interest to just try and fill some of the vacancies in these committees. We'll be doing that in the coming weeks. And so, if you've applied or if you've written wanting to be on one of these committees and you don't hear your name tonight, don't be discouraged. We'll be getting to you and hopefully finding a spot for you on this committee.
Maybe what I could do is I'll mention how many vacancies are in each right now, so this way people have a perspective on, how many openings we currently have, if it's full or not full, like that. Would that be okay?
In each.
So for instance,
Okay.
the Sustainability Committee currently has 4 vacancies, and also be it resolved that Robin Willig of Bayberry Close is reappointed for a term, expires on the first Monday of April 28, and Debbie Friedman is reappointed as chair. Is that fine as an example?
Sure.
Okay. Advisory Council on Parks and Recreation, that's Julie Contrada is reappointed, Lisa Benoit is appointed, Marianne Nielsen is appointed, and Nancy Lee Matlis, I think it's Matlis, is reappointed, and Judy Klein is reappointed as chair. Appointments to the Airport Advisory Council, there's 4 current vacancies. And in addition to that, Peter Schlachtis is reappointed, Stuart Simon is reappointed, Stephen Malkinson is reappointed, Ed Pupo is reappointed, and Peter Schlachtis is reappointed as chair. Architecture Review Board is Marcia Rogel of Talcott Road is reappointed, and Mitchell Levy is reappointed as chair. Ethics Board is Larry Engel, Dana Zimmerman, Ken Finder, Andrew Zeitlin, Bonnie Baker Butler, and Andrew Zeitlin is reappointed as chair. Planning Board currently has 3 vacancies, and in addition, Robert Goodman is reappointed, and Robert Goodman is also reappointed as chair. Records Management Committee consists of the mayor, myself, our treasurer, Liz Rodfeld as deputy clerk, and police chief Eric Dengler. Another hat, Eric. Appointments to the Technology and Communications Commission. There's currently 1 vacancy, and in addition, Brian Walther is reappointed, and Paul Fagan and Craig Regano are appointed as co-chairpersons. Traffic Commission, there's currently 1 vacancy, and in addition to that, Stephen Klein is appointed, and Michael Barnett is also reappointed as chair. Zoning Board of Appeals, Don Moscato is hereby reappointed as chair.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Second.
And as you can see, there are a number of vacancies on the different committees and boards. We will be looking to reach out to individuals who have expressed interest and try and fill these up as soon as possible.
First, let me thank all the people who have expressed interest in serving on one of our boards or commissions, but I'd like, if you're going to apply to be on one of these boards or commissions, please be prepared to explain why you want to be on that particular board or commission. And don't make it sound as if, well, gee, anything you put me on is fine.
And if there are multiple boards or commissions that you would be willing to serve on, perhaps you could state a preference.
Yes, that would be very helpful.
And I would also say thank you to everyone who is continuing to serve on these committees or newly becoming these committees, and certainly thank you to all the chairs of the committees who are being reappointed. We appreciate you giving your time to the Village of Rybrook and helping us do what we do up here and staff do what they do.
Right. Volunteering is critical, and we really appreciate it. We also would like to know what expertise you have when you're applying for these, so that way it would add value to these commissions.
And we'll be reaching out and getting some of that information, and we appreciate that all. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right.
Trustee Epstein.
Yes.
Trustee Heiser.
Yes.
Trustee Crom.
Yes.
Trustee Morlino.
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 6, considering the permanent appointment of a senior office assistant, office manager.
Now therefore be resolved that in accordance with the offer of appointment dated January 10th, Jessica Carpentieri of 145 Pythian Avenue, Hawthorne, New York, is permanently appointed to the position of Senior Office Assistant Office Manager with Rybrook, subject to civil service, and the annual salary for the position is $54,723, with an effective start date of April 8th, 2025.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
And again, this is being brought to us because of
Yeah, we had to recanvass because there was 9 days instead of 10 days provided as required, and so we had to recanvass it. She was appointed to this title and has been in that title as a provisional before that. So she's always been in this title. It's just a matter of, and the salary hasn't changed. It's just making it now permanent.
We appreciate everything that she does for the village, and we are very happy to now have this as permanency.
Yes. And that's one of the other interesting things right now is the other civil service law change is if you when you've been provisional for a certain period of time, that counts towards your probationary periods. So if you're provisional for 2 years, you're ready. If your once it's over a year, you don't have to serve another probation.
We already did. Any other questions or comments on that?
Trustee Epstein.
Yes.
Trustee Heiser.
Yes.
Trustee Crom.
Yes.
Trustee Morlino.
Yes.
Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 7. Considering setting a public hearing on a proposed local law amending Chapter 158, Section 2.1 of the Village Codes concerning seasonal leaf blower restrictions.
And therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees shall hold a public hearing on April 22nd on proposed local law amending Chapter 158 of the Village Code regarding seasonal leaf blower restrictions.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
And again, this is just setting the public hearing. We'll still have an opportunity to comment on the law itself or the legislation itself. Chris, just a brief background for the public.
Sure. I'll do that in lieu of our new Records Management Committee person in the back room. But we, which I think we surprised him today. But our local law requires that there be a warning provided prior to issuing a violation of our seasonal leaf blower ban. There's really not a format that works for the police department where they can track that for in the field. So by having it in the law, while the police officers always have discretion to a certain extent, and they tend to know who the repeated violators are, by having it in the code, if they don't have a documented warning, which the police officers in the field can't just look up, by not having in the code, that the likelihood that would get thrown out because a warning wasn't issued that we documented prior to. So it prevents the officers from issuing violations. So we'd rather have the police officer, we recommend that the board take the warning system out as a requirement and let the officers have discretion, and they tend to know who the repeat violators are.
Thank you, Chris. And again, this is not acting on the legislation or the proposed change to the legislation itself. This is simply setting the public hearing for our next meeting. Any questions or comments from the board?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 8, considering an emergency transport agreement between the Village of Rybrook and the Portchester Rybrook Emergency Medical Services, Inc. And Chris, I am assuming you're going to paraphrase.
Well, yeah, do you guys have the resolution in yours?
I didn't see the resolution itself.
No. Huh? It's listed, but when you click on it, it's the agreement.
Yeah, it's the agreement, not the, and I noticed that,
Okay.
and that's why I got.
So I'll make it up on the fly here. So we have, whereas the Village of Rybrook contracts for service with the Portchester Rybrook EMS Corps, and the 3 communities have an agreement. You said the City of Rye, the Village of Portchester, and the Village of Rybrook have an agreement with the Portchester Rybrook EMS, and the has a emergency medical transport agreement with them that they that is currently expired. So the board hereby authorizes the renewal of the extension for a 5-year term effective upon the signing of this agreement of a renewal of the emergency medical transport agreement to provide services by the EMS Corps.
Thank you, Chris.
That's enough. We'll clean that up.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
And Chris, can you just provide a little background on how this differs from the actual agreement regarding the services itself?
Yes, there's two. So there's 2 agreements that for the provision of EMS services. This is an agreement that spells out that where the 3 communities are contracting with the agency, the EMS agency, to provide transportation for people who need EMS care. So this particular agreement sets certain standards like the type of service that they're providing, defines those services. It also defines response times for different types of priority calls, and those are based on some national standards that currently exist. This is also an asset, so it also provides different types of how the assets get distributed if the agency didn't exist. It also allows for some, right now if they extended it to other locations, that's something that's also addressed in here. But the level of care, the term of the agreement, which is again for 5 years, defining the service area. So this is basically the contract to provide EMS service at a particular service level. It also has, what it does not do is there's a separate agreement which dates back to 1994, which is an EMS intermunicipal agreement, which is not an agreement with the ambulance corps. It's only an agreement between the three municipalities. So that's Rybrook, Portchester, and Rice City, and that's the agreement that defines, for instance, the makeup of the EMS committee. It also defines the cost distribution of expenses. So those are the types of things that are in the 1994 agreement.
Thank you, Chris. So again, just making that distinction between the transport agreement and what would be the budgeting of.
Yeah, the EMS. The transport agreement again defines when they provide the budget to the municipalities as part of the service levels. The other agreement defines then how those costs are paid for by the three agents, three municipalities.
Thank you.
Among other things.
Right. Any questions or comments from the board?
No, I just want to say I found that explanation very helpful. I sort of went through this in preparation, and I was a bit confused, so that's very clarifying.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, and that needs clarification because it is, it does
It gets
does
confusing.
get a little complicated
Yes.
and it's, yeah.
I was confused.
Yeah.
And now I'm not.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Nope. Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 9, considering an agreement between the Village of Rybrook and Eastern Communications Limited for Police Department radio maintenance.
Whereas the police department has 45 radios in need of maintenance, and whereas the Rybrook received a proposed one-year agreement from Eastern Communications of Long Island City, New York, and to provide required maintenance for those 45 police department radios and an option for 24/7 call support. And whereas the proposed agreement has an annual cost of $23,625, and whereas Rybrook seeks to enter into the proposed agreement with Eastern Communications Limited, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the proposed agreement with Eastern Communications of Long Island City, New York, to provide maintenance of the police department radios at a cost of $23,625, subject to modification by council. And be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to execute all documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
Motion.
Second.
I think this is fairly self-explanatory. Chief, if there's anything you'd like to say. Chris?
Nope.
Yeah, all right. Any questions or comments from the board?
I was just wondering why, I mean, it seems like a lot of money. I know we have to spend it because you need working phones. I just want to better understand exactly why this is such a costly contract.
It's actually $7,000 cheaper than initially thought.
That's great.
These aren't phones. These are the these are the radios.
Oh, well, that. Is it a problem that they're farther away?
Chief, maybe if you don't mind. Thank you.
We have a new communication system, I think, right? We adopted it last year with the.
Yes.
Right. So
And
these
the
radios have to.
Metro. Eric
Yeah.
can address that.
Yeah.
Coming off maintenance now.
Mhm.
So that's why we're looking to do the service contract with them.
Right. And these radios are the new radios for the new system we have. No? Yeah.
Yes, these are the radios for that system. And again, as the chief said, initially they came in much higher, and he really worked it over to try to get that price down from the initial quote.
So that's why they're expensive.
Yeah, the breakdowns are all
Yep.
back.
Where is that? Go back up.
Statement of work. It's annual preventative maintenance, technical support, issues and resolutions reporting, customer coordination, customer being us.
Yeah, we have to bring it to them.
We have to drive it to them?
Unless you want to mail it, yes. And sometimes it's on site, like if they have to fix a console or one of the backup radios.
Is there much competition for this kind of work?
There used to be, but now that we're on this Harris radio system now.
Okay.
Eastern is the only one that has Harris radio.
Yeah, it's a new business for somebody local.
Any other questions or comments?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 10. Considering accepting a sponsorship donation from Yale New Haven Health for an intergenerational game night.
Okay, whereas Yale New Haven Health wishes to provide the Village of Rybrook, AJP, with a donation of the amount of $300 to sponsor the International Game Night event hosted by the Senior Center, and whereas Rybrook is interested in accepting the donation, and therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees, acting on the Board of Directors of the Friends of Rybrook, hereby accepts a sponsorship donation in the amount of $300 to the AJP Senior Center to sponsor the Intergenerational Game Night. Be it further resolved, the Mayor and Administrator can sign any documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of the resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
I attended the intergenerational game night. I thought it was a great event. It was the village working with the PTA, and so it was seniors, and it was, as we said earlier, there were 30 middle school and high school students that participated, and I mean, playing pickleball, playing rummy cube, ping pong, cornhole, and then the part I had to miss because I had to get to another event that day was actually the pizza and the cookies, and I'm assuming that's where a lot of this money is going for. And we'd like to thank Yale New Haven Health for donating this to the Friends of Rybrook. To help cover the cost of this program. Any questions or comments?
Definitely thank Yale New Haven. Just to point a question. It's an ethics thing that we have to formally accept a donation of this size?
Yes, of this type, more than the...
So that it's not...
It's less to do with the amount, as more as the accepting donations from agencies.
Okay.
The amount really almost doesn't matter. You'll see, we put items on for a lot less than this, but a lot more as well. So, yeah.
And we've received some great donations over the years. Some have been cash value, some have been, baseball cards, some hot dog carts. The one that gets interesting we have received donations of stock, which we are not allowed to hold as a municipality, so we've had to convert it.
You have to take it, create an account, put in the account, convert it, and then be done. Then convert it right away.
Okay, good.
Even ping pong tables. I mean, everything under the sun you can imagine.
The ping pong which we used at the
Yes.
intergenerational game night. We'll see it over the years, the different things that
I think we have another item on here, don't we?
Yeah.
Which and there when there's an item donated, we try to create some kind of an estimated value.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes, and thank you.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, and thank you again to Yale New Haven Health. Resolution number 11, authorizing the submission of a New York State Home Rule request to reauthorize a hotel occupancy tax.
Wishful thinking, right, for the future again.
No, but we need it in
we
there.
do need the legislation.
We need the legislation to not go away.
Whereas Rybrook desires to reauthorize an occupancy tax on any room for hire within the village, which was first enacted in 2010 for a 3-year period and later renewed in each of the next 3 subsequent years. And whereas the rate of such tax shall not exceed 3% of the per diem rental rate for each room, and whereas Senator Shelley Mayer has introduced New York State legislation to the Senate with a certain bill number, and New York State Assemblyman Steve Otis has introduced New York State legislation to the Assembly with a different bill number that's for the Assembly, and whereas this legislation requires of a home rule request to the New York State Senate and New York State Assembly by the Village of Rybrook, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the submission of the home rule request to the Senate and Assembly for those bills which would not exceed a 3% daily room tax for a hotel, motel, or similar place of public accommodation, and be it further resolved, the mayor and the clerk, administrative clerk are hereby authorized to submit the request and execute and deliver all necessary documents to New York State.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
Motion.
We've had help from numerous elected officials over the years with this, most recently from Senator Mayer and Assemblyman Otis, and we want to thank them for their continued support for us with this. In the past, Rybrook had 2 hotels operating. We had the Hilton and Doral. At this point, Hilton still remains. Doral has been torn down, but our hope is that there is some sort of redevelopment in that property that would include some sort of hotel capacity with it. The most recent proposal that we had there did include a boutique hotel with it. We understand that that property has been since sold or auctioned. And we hope that, certainly our dream would hopefully stay alive of having a hotel back on that property. With the Hilton, we hope that it reopens someday in some form of hotel capacity. That was certainly, having this hotel tax was a benefit to our residents, both commercial and or homestead and non-homestead, and
because it came in as a revenue, and that was we were receiving at the time about $700,000 in hotel tax.
and
revenue.
that was a major hit in 2020 when they both closed for different
It's
reasons.
a major hit.
that was a big hit at the time.
It was a very big hit that we
Yeah.
took, and it's been tough recovering from it. And so having this legislation in place is vital to us, so that should the hotels reopen or one reopen, a new hotel maybe be built. Should this reopen, we still have the ability to collect the hotel tax.
Because it's not automatic. In fact,
Right.
we were the first, for a while, we were the only, and we were the first village in New York State to get the hotel tax legislation. So, since there's been others since then,
Right.
but it's not an automatic, which is why you want to keep this in place.
Right. Any questions or comments from the board? And certainly we would, appreciate the support. We appreciate the support of Senator Mayer and Assemblyman Otis and helping.
And I should just mention, and there's no competitive disadvantage to charging the tax because all the neighboring hotels have this in place as well.
And it's also not hitting your residents.
No,
It's
and that's
hitting
the
visitors.
wonderful, yeah.
Right.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 12, considering accepting a motorcycle trailer donation for the police department.
Whereas Michael Bruno of Somers, New York, wishes to donate a 2018 drop-tail dual motorcycle trailer to the Village of Rybrook Police Department. And whereas the motorcycle trailer has a current estimated value of about $2,500, and whereas the Rybrook is interested in accepting the donation, now therefore be resolved that the Village Board, acting as the Board of Directors of the Friends of Rybrook, hereby accepts the donation of a 2018 drop-tail dual motorcycle trailer for the Police Department, and be it further resolved, the Mayor and Administrator are authorized to sign any documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
Motion.
Second?
We very much appreciate this donation. This doesn't come to us randomly. Some might think coming from a different municipality that it might be, but it's not.
The chief was able to secure it, though, however he did. I don't know.
We certainly appreciate that. We appreciate this donation, and hopefully we put it to good use. Any questions or comments from? Oh, do we have a? We do. Okay.
Yeah, we have a motion.
Sorry, I'm losing my mind a little bit here. It's been
getting late.
It's late, and it's been a couple of long nights in a row.
Yes.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes, and thank you.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 13. I'm having. All right, here we go. Considering fiscal year 24-25 budget transfer for fire engine 14 repairs.
Now therefore be resolved that the following fiscal year 24-25 general fund budget transfer to allocate funds for repair work to the fire engine be hereby approved. This is a transfer of $32,000 from our sewer account to the central garage contractual repairs line.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
A little background, Chris.
The engine needed to be fixed. It was a lot more expensive than it initially started. Both these funds are under Michael's accounts, and he'd rather not hit it. He needs it he needs more money because that's a big hit to this account, and had money available in the sewer account. So they recommended that we transfer it from there into our contractual repairs line, so that we can. We had to do the work and get that vehicle back in service. It was out of service at the time. Not contingency.
Not contingency. Yes. All right, and again, we appreciate the work that goes into dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure that during the budget presentation, you saw that our fiscal stress was 0, and our audits always come back clean because of this work that goes into it. So, thank you to everyone who does that. Any questions or comments from the board?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Crom?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 14, considering approval of the minutes for the meetings held on January 14th, 28th, and February 11th, 2025.
Now therefore be resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the minutes for the meetings held on January 14th, 28th, and February 11th, 2025.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Do I abstain? I wasn't there. But
No, you can
You
vote.
can vote.
You can vote
vote
on it.
on it.
I looked at them. They look good.
Administrator's report.
Okay, just a couple of items. We already talked about actually Con Ed, so I won't go into that again, but I would just highlight a different part of it, which is the first of the virtual public hearings was today. Mr. Dichter did make comments as well, but really his main piece of work will be more in the hearings and the testimonies and the settlement discussions, all of that. But they only have 2 minutes to make a comment today for everyone virtually. But residents can also sign up. You have to do it the day before. So actually, it's today for the next one is tomorrow. So yeah, you have to sign up a day ahead. We put that information out to our residents. It's kind of an all-day affair where they had 2 times today and 2 times tomorrow. Had it in the background a little bit. It was really not very fun to listen to, but it was interesting, I guess. And so that's this is really, as we said, this is such a large increase. It's affecting so many people. So we really want to make sure that the residents are protected. County planning, we mentioned also, I think already, that the CDBG projects, 3 of them are approved, the retaining wall for 2025, the generator for 2026, and the rear fence for 2026. Doesn't mean it's all approved. What it means is the planning board made recommendations. There's a hearing that already occurred, and then it goes to the Board of Legislators, and then the federal money would have to come in. Lastly, the Friends of the Portchester Rybrook Library have an interesting event that's open to the public at our AJP Community Center, and they have a trivia night on Friday, April 11th from 6:30 till 9. That's not a Rybrook event, it's a library event, but it's at our facility and for a good cause because that goes to the Friends of, and I think the cost for that is $25 a person. But if somebody's looking for a trivia night, it's coming up. You want to do it? Go ahead.
Keep it short.
Yes.
Yes, everybody's tired.
Please.
Keep it short.
It's our event, our Easter egg hunt. That's
Yes.
happening this Saturday. So
That's right.
Bert managed to secure a magician, so it should be fun. He's doing one at 10 o'clock and one at 11 will be at Pine Ridge.
Great.
We got a nice turnout for our Rybrook Little League.
Yep.
We'll have another one this Saturday.
Very good.
You're going to post on Rybrook residents? Great. I would start that every day.
Anything else,
I would
Chris?
post it every
Nope,
day
that's all.
because the algorithms have not been.
And I would say that Little League Parade was a great event. Trustee Crum and I marched in it. I was amazed at the number of people that came out in the cold, rainy weather. But we, you know, it was, I mean, there were a few hundred people at least. It was, you know, it was, I mean, and having the fire trucks was great. Everyone had a great time. The kids were running around having a great time. They got to the Little League, you know, and then I can say that I have now caught a pitch from a Major League Baseball player. I was really glad I didn't embarrass myself and let it, you know, it didn't hit me square in the forehead. So we did all right. The only other item on our agenda tonight was a discussion item on the Con Ed street opening permits. I know that individual had conflicts, was not able to make it, so we're going to hold off on that.
That's awesome.
We'll reschedule that.
So sad.
The next, any other comments from the public regarding any other items? Seeing none. The next meetings of the Board of Trustees will be April 22nd and May 13th, 2025. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Dinner time.
Oh,
We don't-